The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is sponsored by Two Fat Lardies, Geek Nation Tours, and by the generous donations of you, the listener. Thank you to everyone for your continued support. We really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast, episode number 246. Burrows and Badgers, with hosts Neil Shook, Mike Hobbs, and Mike Whittaker, and guest Michael Lovejoy from Oathsworn Miniatures. The show was recorded between the 27th of March and the 18th of April, 2018. Hello once again, fellow listeners, and welcome to another episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. My name is Neil Shook, and as ever, I am joined by my fellow adventurers in tabletop gaming. We have, first off, the Welsh wizard himself. It is, of course, Mr. Michael Hobbs. Hello, sir.
Hello, Neil. Hello, world. Hello, Meeps.
How are you?
I'm very well.
And yes, of course, as well as our wizard, we are joined, of course, by our resident bard. It is Mr. Michael Whittaker. Hello, sir.
Good. Whatever time of day you're listening to this, Meeps.
And how are you?
Here.
Let's just check. How much stuff have you bought from the
show you didn't go to?
No. I was going to say, how much have you bought from the wargame store you now have in your back garden?
1 tin of white paint.
Was that it? That's a bit disappointing.
That's it. 1 tin of white spray paint. which I traded for a completely unopened box of Wargames Factory Roman Cavalry.
Okay, yeah, I think we need to explain to Ruben that, I didn't think you were operating in barter mode anymore.
Apparently they're quite hard to come by, and I'm very unlikely to paint the second box, so...
Oh, there we go then.
He was quite happy to trade them for the cavalry, so I'm not complaining. And I was desperately short on white spray paint, so...
Well, there we go. Well, welcome one, welcome all. It is, of course, another show, hopefully coming to you a bit quicker than the last one. Right, so welcome, as we say, on tonight's show. For our interview this evening, we are going to be chatting with a good friend of the show, Mr. Michael Lovejoy, all about Burrows and Badgers, which was actually launched into the wild in its new, bright, shiny hardback edition at Salute. And
gentle listener, you may try and keep count of how many times Neil gets the game's name wrong between now and the end of the show.
It's the other way around, isn't it? Was it the other way around?
It's Badgers and Burrows.
No, you're just trying to wind me up. Anyway, that's our main interview. But before then, we have a host of discussion as we catch up with everything we've been doing in the hobby since last time we spoke. So I think, go forth, grab a beverage, and get your paints ready for those of you who listen while painting, and we shall crack on and come back to you with what we've been up to in the hobby.
The eagles have gone. Britain lies defenseless in a cruel world. Since the birth of our Lord, it has been 456 years. What sins have we committed to bring this punishment to Britain? I speak, of course, of the Saxons. They came as allies, but now they seek conquest. The lands of the Britons lie ravaged before them. Blood runs red in our island. We need a leader to stand against them. We need a man to bring together the Britons in common cause. We seek a Dux Britanniarum.
Right, that's enough of that. Dux Britanniarum from Two Fat Lardies. They really are very good.
What have we been playing? What have we been buying? We might even have painted something. The Meeples and Miniatures crew reveal all. And we're back, and it's time to chat all about what we've been getting up to the last few weeks. But before we do that, it's been, obviously, as you're listening to this, the biggest one-day wargaming show in the UK has just happened. As you may have noticed, Meeples, shows from Salute were conspicuous by its absence from Meeples, as we didn't do media this year. However, one of us did go. That person being our resident bard, who obviously took copious notes from the day, so can now regale us with a full and complete report on Salute. So, Mike,
how can I summarise this in words of one syllable? Not on your life.
Because Mike was doing a demo game, so his Salute was a 4-foot wide table. That's all he saw.
No, my Salute was not. My Salute was 18 feet of lino.
Oh, did you say Dembusters?
No, I did not take Dembusters. We took the same 18 feet of lino on the grounds. Hell, why not take advantage of what you've got? But this year it was Lake Tanganyika.
Ah, right, okay.
It's a slightly different bit of lino.
It's the same piece of lino.
Shh, don't peek behind the curtain.
But we did do something slightly wacky, which if you're coming to Partisan, you'll be able to see, which is that we actually ran 3 games on it.
Oh, hang on. Oh, didn't you do things like African Queen and stuff like that?
Right, now then, let me explain to you. Way back in the mists of time, which is to say somewhere of the order of 1915, the British decided in their wisdom that they needed a naval presence on Lake Tanganyika. This was a little difficult because they hadn't got any boats on Lake Tanganyika. So some bright spark had the...
Excuse me, Mike, can I just interrupt here? For those that are geographically challenged, where is Lake Tanganyika again?
It's in the middle of East Africa.
Thank you.
So they shipped 2 motorboats to Cape Town, which, as you are well aware, is not in the middle of East Africa, and then carted them overland to Lake Tanganyika.
Wasn't there a bit of coast they could have used that was closer?
Apparently not. It's all a bit like if you run across a book called Mimi and Tautau Go Forth. The 2 boats were called Mimi and Tautau. They were commanded by this delightfully eccentric cap called Commodore Geoffrey Spicer Simpson, who by all accounts was a complete fruitcake. He wanted to call them Cat and Dog. The Royal Navy refused. Tautau, which the Royal Navy bought, despite in French they actually mean meow and woof. I kid you not. So, there were some interesting naval skirmishes on Lake Tanganyika. compounded by the fact that these two things basically had whopping great Hotchkiss guns mounted on the front, which they couldn't actually fire sideways, otherwise the whole boat would roll over. Just to add to the fun. It's one of these stories that you just... If somebody pitched it as a movie, you'd say, don't be bloody ridiculous, it's far too far-fetched. So, essentially, there were a couple of scraps between these two and various German boats. The first thing they did is actually manage to... We've got two 8-ton motorboats, took on a 45-ton German steamship and forced it to surrender, and captured it and renamed it HMS Fifi, which, guess what, means tweet. I kid you not. And very
meow, woof, and tweet.
And tweet, yes. So, in the middle of our table, we had a little naval battle, which was basically the Mimi and the Tau Tau, which Old Glory US do as 25mm resins, against the SMS Kingani, which was the ship that later became the Fifi, which was a 3D print made by yours truly, which was an absolute blooming nightmare, I'll tell you, because there are very few reference photos of it and no plans. The stern half came off the printer at 5 past midnight the morning of salute.
But of course, it does then mean that somebody will go. Well, oh, that's wrong. Prove it.
Absolutely, absolutely. It turns out that we actually got the scale slightly small relative to the Old Glory boats, so it'll get a reprint before Partisan. So that was the middle of the table. The whatever you want to call it, top end of the table. There was shortly before the two boats arrived. There was a bit of an interesting little infantry skirmish, which apparently boiled down to the fact the British had no communications gear. So they, wait for it, borrowed a motor launch from the Belgians, took it across the lake under the noses of the German gunboats and failed to be noticed, landed, put ashore a force of soldiers, captured the German command post, stole 2 field telephones, and, wait for it, 35 miles of telephone cable.
I'm sorry?
35
miles?
35 miles of telephone cable, hopped back in the boats, and sailed back across the lake under the noses of the Germans without being noticed.
That must be the bugger to roll up.
Apparently so.
How much does 35 miles of telephone cable?
I am at a loss. I am at a loss for the further details of the story. If you want the full details, I suggest you come to Partisan and ask Dan, who is our resident obsessive on the Lake Tanganyika campaign. So that was one end of the table, which is just basically a little infantry skirmish. Actually, if you remember our Dead's Army game, we used the Dead's Army rules because they're a very nice lightweight infantry scrap that people can pick up in 2 minutes flat. Had lots of games like that.
Dead's Army. I don't think I've had an opportunity to play that game.
Well, yes, you have had an opportunity to play that game.
I've seriously not played that game.
You've had an opportunity. Neil, listen to what you said. You've had an opportunity to play it.
Yes, you just haven't played it because
you just turned it down several times.
Because you don't do zombies.
Oh yes, the game without the cricket pavilion I wanted to defend.
That will be the game at Robin, yes, which you definitely had an opportunity to play.
Fancy that.
Strange that, isn't it? Anyway, so at the other end of the table, if you remember a little game by Games Workshop called Lost Patrol.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some listeners may, some may not. Essentially, you have a scout patrol of Space Marines downed on a jungle planet, and you get to basically just place hex tiles with bit segments of path on it until you get to safety or get munched by gene stealers.
That was the one that was in the same small group of box games as things like Space Fleet and stuff, wasn't it?
I wouldn't know, not being a Games Workshop connoisseur, but I'm sure someone could tell you.
So I'm looking at a copy of Space Fleet down here.
At last year's, I really don't know. At last year's one of the shows in the big shed in Newark. Dear Hammerhead Partisan, other Partisan people, you really need to get your branding sufficiently cleaned up so that I can actually remember which show it was. We took a game that was effectively Lost Patrol, but done with conquistadors and lots of natives and stuff. And I thought, let's nick the mechanic, tweak it a bit and use it for the scene in the African Queen where they're navigating the ship through the boat through the reed beds, for those who've seen the movie. For those who haven't, essentially, if you imagine one of these river deltas that's strewn with reeds and little muddy channels, and the objective is to get the boat across the table without getting eaten by crocodiles, pythons, natives, German mines, etc., etc., etc.
A typical colonial game, then.
Yeah, absolutely. Which was done with Sarissa's little river launch, or would have been had I not forgotten ours, sitting on my workbench at 6:30 on Saturday morning.
This is beginning to have a familiar ring to it. Since did this river launch perhaps look somewhat like an English cricket pavilion?
Yeah, very clearly, it had sort of tarpaulins on top of it and was made of wood. So yes, it probably did. However, I did sort of amble over to Sarissa and be very, very nice to Sarissa, to whom I would like to say a very public thank you for letting me borrow their display model of the river launch for the day. Sarissa, you are thoroughly nice people, and thank you very much indeed.
Excellent.
In fact, it looked better than my paint job as well. It was lovely. It was much appreciated. And I bought lots of things off them, which I was going to do anyway, but I probably bought more than I might otherwise have done by way of a thank you. They're very nice people. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so that's the game that you put on.
Yep. Other than that, what else did we do?
So did you see anything else of the show? And was it as dark as people say it was?
Yeah, I don't like the lighting in there. It's nowhere near as good as Hereward. It's, for some reason, because the ceiling's so high, it's probably got considerably more lighting power per square whatever of ceiling. It's just meh. It's hard. It's hard on the eyes. That show. It's hard on the feet as well.
Hmm. So did you get to? So other than winning your game, did you get to have a chance to have a wander around and see what else?
Bit of a wander. Obviously went to see Sarissa, more by necessity than. Went to make sure my tenant was making money. He was. Popped in on Ms. Norman, who was looking stressed, but had an absolute army of helpers with her. So I think Bad Squiddo looked. There were people all around the store just about every time I passed Bad Squiddo. Went to see that notorious tanker, Mr. Clark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What dodgy game were they putting on then?
What a tanker. Him and Fat Nick were putting on a very, very well attended, I suspect several very well attended games of What a Tanker, which went down really well, as far as I could tell. It was very crowded all the time, lots of people having fun, lots of favourable comments, good looking table as ever. What else did we do? So I picked up my copy of What a Tanker off Rich. Where else did I go? Found Annie, found Sarissa, found Osprey, which was also on my list of people to find since friend of the show, Mr. Mike Hutchison, he of Gaslands fame.
Ah, yes, indeed.
Was doing a stint behind the stall and having a whale of a time by the looks of it. Copies of the rules flying off the remaining few printed copies of the rules, given apparently they're pretty much sold out of the second print run, as far as I can tell.
Oh, that's pretty good.
The Facebook group's up to 4,000 plus members. Basically, it was all flying off the store. He was having a great time.
It really does seem to have struck a chord with people, hasn't it?
It's an absolutely fabulous game. I will not hear a bad thing said about it, and that's not because he's a mate. I think it's brilliant. I love it. We've had between 5 and 8 people playing it down the club just about every week since the beginning of March.
Cool.
Lots of people wandering into Poundland and coming out with cars and cackling evilly. I may have had a little chat with him, and he may have hinted that he's got another set of rules coming out about which I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, so we'll just have to ask him sometime.
Right.
But they're for something completely different, which floateth my boat from. And that's not a hint. Which floateth my boat, although it is not a naval set of rules. It sounds very interesting, and I suspect as soon as there are more details, I shall pass them on. As he did sound quite enthusiastic about it. I think he's been bitten by the War Games rule writing bug.
Oh, sounds interesting. Well, as I say, we shall have to nab him at the point when he can talk about it.
Indeed, yes. And did a bit of a wander around. Apart from that, a few things that caught the eye. What's the sort of steampunky Wild West game that's out at the moment?
Wild West Exodus.
That's the one. Had some very pretty looking tables. They also had the interesting idea that instead of using the show provided tables, they'd actually done some tables that were up at above waist level standing up.
Oh, cool.
Which was quite a sensible idea. They were quite dramatic looking tables. Warlords, Blood Red Skies had a rather fabulous looking demo table up, and that had quite a few people around it playing it all the time. That was quite a nice looking game, actually. Happened to know that Ruben's stock of it arrived just after he left down the road. In fact, he was most put out. I messaged him and said, that the other half of that Warlord order you were expecting, it's just arrived.
Oh, right. Okay.
But yes, they have this massive table with an aircraft carrier in the middle of it.
Oh, yes. I had
which
seen a couple of photos.
Did look rather stunning. I cannot comment on the game, but I can say that it was a very nice looking table. We were right next to the guys from Blood and Plunder.
Oh, nice.
So who had a table with a Caribbean town, about five various brigs and frigates.
That would be Peter from Leicester Fat Cats.
That was indeed Peter from Leicester Fat Cats.
Hello,
in full
Pete.
costume. Full costume along with his mates.
Yes, he did threaten to go in full costume. Hello, Pete. I know listens to the show.
Should you see him, remind him that he needs to come to Herald with that.
It is a very nice game that he's
It's a very, very nice game. The RAF guys had their Mad Lego Tanks game, which was completely mad. But then, when have the RAF guys ever not been completely mad?
Indeed.
You've seen their minion racing. Salute haven't put the awards up yet. I know they got second for most innovative, I think. Winner for that was something in 40 mil that I didn't see.
Was that that ACW game?
Could have been. I'm blanking because I had a very long day.
Yes, the friend of the show, TM Terrain, apparently helped build that table.
Yes. Every single bit of it hand-built, including the bits that they didn't need to. Which is kind of amusing. So, yeah, that was good. I think what else I saw, mostly the backs of my eyelids quite a bit for the rest of the day.
Oh, okay. Right.
It was a good show. What else can I say? I would have said, and I might be wrong, but it felt like the attendance was a bit down. Although it's kind of hard. It's always hard to tell with these things.
Yeah, I've heard that from a few traders. It was down, but
Yeah, the complimentary mug was nice. Whoever's that was very nice. There were some lovely, lovely, lovely tables. A lot of people been doing quite a few of the usual suspects here. Friend of the show, Simon Miller, doing English Civil War on a massive table.
Yeah, that was. What scale was that?
25, I think. 28.
Oh, it was 28. But as I say, that table was huge.
It was not small.
This is Simon. Simon doesn't do small games.
This is true.
Yeah, to be fair, he does not. There's no such thing as small games where Simon are concerned, and that was a whopper. It was very, very nice. There were a number of, basically the usual, what you expect. Lots of extremely high production value, really well built tables, which I'd have loved to have wandered along and tried to find out how playable the games were that went with them.
Mm. But it's
I know that may sound slightly cynical, but you do see an awful lot of pretty tables, and I do sometimes wonder how much effort went to the table and how much went into making a game that fits in with the amount of time most people have at Salute if they actually want to play anything.
Mm. But this is something that we picked up on last year. Is we all commented that there didn't seem to be that many high production tables out there. So maybe this year
there were a bleep load this year.
Good. That's
There were
a
some
good sign.
really, really good-looking tables.
Good.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, it is.
Cool.
I didn't spend much money, but we'll get to that later, I guess.
Excellent stuff. Well, thank you for your rundown of Salute.
I apologise that it's a somewhat personal view from largely tucked away in one corner by the entrance, but
When you run a game, you don't see much of it.
no, particularly when you run 3 games on one table and there's only 3 of you.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Fair dues. Yes. Yeah, we've all had experience of running games at Salute, and yes, it's if you're lucky to get a run round for an hour, yeah, that's all you get. When we did Dam Busters, was it 3 years ago? It was 2014, wasn't it? Mm-hmm.
There were 6 of us on the table. Pretty much, we had pretty much one person managing the pilot, one person managing the flak, one person managing moving the plane for people, and 2 people were managing the queue.
Yes,
literally, because it was 2 people deep all the way around the table for most of the show. And I seem to remember I got enough time off to, strangely enough, go and pick up a set of rules from 2 Fat Lardies and grab some lunch, and that was about it.
cool.
Mm.
Right.
So that was Salute.
That was Salute then. Okay then.
Oh,
Right.
no, that was not Salute. I should also like to say hello to Pear, who dropped by.
Oh, right.
Good old pair.
Yeah, good old Pear. Which is good because I hadn't got round to invoicing him for his batch of bottles, so we settled up there, and a couple of 2 or 3 other folks from the podcast who said hi, and I'm really, really terribly sorry, but in the middle of running games, I'm absolutely hopeless with names. So know that your comments were appreciated, even if I haven't got a snowflake's chance in the proverbial of actually remembering your name by the end of the day.
Cool. Well, in that case, we shall move on from Salute reports to finding out what we've been up to over these, since we last chatted, which is it's about 3 weeks, isn't it, since we last chatted? So, right, okay, who wants to go first on what have we been playing?
Not me, because I've just been talking for 15 minutes.
Fair enough. And since I went last time, that must mean went first last time. That must mean it must be Hobbsy.
It must be. What have I been playing? Sorry, is it playing now, is it?
It's playing, yeah.
Playing.
Yeah, what have you been up to? What have you been playing over the last few weeks?
Oh, not much. I've only had a few games. I've been over to Abergavenny to see mate Mark, and we played Shadows over Normandy, and had a great time. Then the first distraction occurred.
The first distraction, okay.
The first distraction, yeah. Popped over to the Sheep's Nest to see Jeff. Hi, Jeff. And Ty, who were playing Bag the Hun.
Ah, yes, Bag the Hun.
Bag the Hun, which is a game I've never played. And I've always had a little inkling for air combat, but I never found a set of rules I like, because every single set of rules I've found just seemed to be dogfighting with, well, it's just dogfighting, just in you go.
That would be because you'd never tried a set of 2 Fat Lardies air warfare rules, wouldn't it?
That would be why, yeah. So we played Bag the Hun, and I instantly fell in love with it because it's got tactics in it, and clever tactics.
I seem to remember that in the not so distant past, you were lamenting the lack of quality C games.
Yes.
And then you went to an Operation Market Laden.
Mm.
And you played Kiss Me Hardy.
Yep.
Are we beginning to spot a pattern here, boys and girls?
There is a pattern, but yeah. So we played Bag the Hun and loved it. So yeah, that was my first distraction. We'll come back to the things that what happened after that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then last Sunday, Jeff, hello Jeff, again, organised a bit of a boys' day out at Firestorm, and we played Water Tanker. And originally it was going to be me, Jeff, Mark, and Ty. And then Matt and Ralph decided they want to come along.
And then it kind of got out of hand.
Yeah, there was 12 of us in the end. So Matt, old Glenbrook Games himself, took on the role of umpire and basically was telling us all the rules. And we had a great time. We had 2 long games. It was just fantastic. Really, really good, fun game. And yeah, tactically it was fun. It was fun because it was fun. Poor Ty on the very first turn before he even moved his tank got blown up. But literally first turn. Young Ewan was the coolest man around, and also took out Ty's tank on the very first turn. And Beth Fraser popped over from Bristol. It was great fun. Oh, and those 2 reprobates, A. Deacon and Jim Ibbison, drove down from Evesham to play. So, what a day. Absolutely brilliant day. And yes, kudos to the Lardies for producing What a Tanker, because it's a bit of a hit. It's not often you can get 12 people around the table and have a good day playing.
No. No. More What a Tanker shortly.
Yes. And that's it. That's what I've been playing.
Oh, right, cool. Okay. Well, since Mr. Whittaker is still resting his vocal cords from his salute report, I'll go next, right? Right, okay, what have I been up to? Let's have a look. The first thing to talk about was that I met up with a good friend of the show, Mr. Rich Jones, a couple of weeks ago now. Hi, Rich. Rich suddenly had this mad idea of, wouldn't it be fun, because we haven't seen each other for ages. He said, wouldn't it be cool? Shall we get together for a game of Star Wars Legion? Tremendous idea, says I. Where are we going to meet? Oh, let's meet. Both of us had Easter week off because Rich is a teacher, and I booked a week off work, and it was like, okay, right. So, let's get to a friendly local game store, and it would be really good if you had a game during the day in the week. Could we find a game store other than trucking off to the middle of Wales that was actually open in the week during the day in the middle of the Easter school holidays? No. I think somebody missed a trick somewhere, but never mind. Anyway, so we ended up on a Saturday. I went down to Wayland Games because Rich said, okay, we'll come down to you. Not realising exactly where Wayland Games was at the time. So having almost it seemed travelled and almost got as far as driving off the end of the island, because it's in deepest darkest Essex. But met up with Rich for a couple of games of Star Wars Legion, and we had an absolute blast. It is a really good game, it made up for the fact that Rich had painted all the miniatures. He'd put together a really nice looking table with some very nice scenery. One of the things he'd done, he'd used the pre-painted scenery from Plastercraft games. They have a range of scenery that they do for Infinity that is pre-coloured, and it's actually called their coloured range. But it actually looks vaguely like it should be on some sort of desert planet. So we used that, and we had some lots of resin bits and pieces, and had a couple of games of Star Wars Legion, which was a real blast. And thank you, Rich, for organising that. We had a wonderful time. So we did that. I've had a couple of games of Arkham Horror, the card game. Well, having died the first time round, we were redoing the campaign from the from the base game with brand new characters, but obviously the fact that we're now like 2 or 3 games in, I think we're starting to get the hang of it now as far as card synergies and stuff is concerned. That's a great little game. So did that, and over that we had I managed to teach the guys how to play Ninja All-Stars, which is the Chibi Ninja skirmish game. Done by the same guys, Ninja Division, that's it. It's the same guys who do Super Dungeon Explorer. But that that's a really nice, kind of very light, silly little skirmish game. So got that and played a game of What a Tanker last week, actually. Obviously, because they shipped all the rules, we got a game of that in with Mr. Luff and Rich and my other mate Dave.
So I'm actually the only one of us who hasn't played it yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
Despite having been standing next to the creator running a game of it for about 5 minutes.
I don't know. And most of us loved it.
They didn't, did they?
I think that for now, let's go as far as to say as we don't think Dave got it.
No.
At all.
Dave's not a fan of that kind of game, though, is he?
He's not a huge fan of kind of light, fluffy game. Well, I mean, What Tanker isn't a light and fluffy game, but it's certainly not. It's certainly not a game to be taken completely seriously.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Well, I mean, he hadn't read the rules, and I don't know what he was expecting, and maybe I didn't manage his expectations. But for some reason, it just didn't fit with him at all.
Mm.
But before we go any further with that, I think it's going to be a case of we'll have to get him on the show at some point and have a chat about it. But I mean, interestingly, from all the feedback I have seen on social media, as far as I can tell in everything I have seen, he's the only person. He's the only person I have seen in the entirety of ever since What a Tanker's been out like 10 days now. He's the only person I have seen who hasn't enjoyed it.
Must be the company he keeps.
This is it. Yeah, I blame the guy who's explaining the rules.
Yeah.
But we had a whale of a time, and I'm going to bludgeon him into submission about liking it, because as we'll find out later, we might be playing quite a bit of What a Tanker. Either that, or I've just bought 2 major parts of an 8th Army and a Freaker Corps. A Freaker Corps for another World War II game.
Ho, ho, ho.
And then finally, we returned on Monday and played a couple of games of the Dungeons and Dragons board game. This particular flavour was the Temple of Elemental Evil, which is, as far as I remember, it's based on 5th edition, but it's a board dungeon bash, but it's much more of a dungeon bash and much less of a fantasy puzzle race game than Dungeon Saga, to my mind. But really enjoyed that, and I'm now starting looking at some of the others of those, and kind of going, especially the board game version of Castle Ravenloft. I really think I must get that. We keep going on about Castle Ravenloft, and I really must get the board game for that, because it's enjoying that. So that's what I've been up to. So a nice mix.
Cool.
Mr. Whittaker.
So I think the sum total of my gaming these past 3 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
A couple of games of Gaslands, including last night's, Monday night's, which was an absolute barrel loss. We had enough people for a 1 car each death race that actually was brilliant fun. I won by dint of deliberately crashing just before the final gate and making it through sideways and not quite on fire. Which seems to be from Mike Hutchinson's comment on Twitch on Twitter shortly thereafter, the preferred approach. As in, if you don't go through the winning gate sideways and on fire, you're probably doing something wrong.
Excellent.
Yes. And I think I have firmly discovered which of the sponsors my affinity is with. I do appear to like skidding performance cars all over the shop, so. Yeah, so there'll be more games of that in the club's future. I'm sure there'll also be more games of Pikeman's Laments in the future, but I think I covered that last time out.
Mm-hmm.
And the other Monday that wasn't spent playing Gaslands, we spent playtesting the Salute rules.
Oh, cool.
of which the infantry skirmish being Dead's Army is a thoroughly tried and tested concept. Dan and I went through a game on our kitchen table all this time last week, finished it in about half an hour and said, yeah, that seems to work about as well as we expected it to. The naval battle, Dan turned up the club with a set of rules at 8 o'clock, and we left the club at 10 to 11 with a completely different set of rules that worked. It was one of those that it always happens with these. You come up with an idea for a set of rules that looks good in your head.
Yeah.
And then you explain it to somebody else and it doesn't. As we gently pointed out to Dan, that these are all very nice, but your turning circle rules require you to carry a 31-inch radius, a 38-inch diameter turning circle ruler.
Okay.
And I sort of leaned over Dan and said, I've got a suggestion for you, mate. Well, use the full thrust turning rules. There was a short pause, light bulb went on over his head. So anybody who played the game and recognised the slight similarity between the way the motorboats and the Kingani moved and the full thrust turning rules, that's my fault.
Excellent.
I think we played about 4 games of that and sort of kept balancing various dice modifiers for various firing rules and how many body hull points each of the boats had. It was one of those sort of, if you play it enough times, you'll get something that works.
Hang on, you turn around and saying, so we kept balancing this during the games that we played. So basically what you're turning around and saying is that you made it up as you went along.
No. I would safe to say that by the end of the Monday evening that we were playtesting, the rules were pretty much set in stone.
Right.
But none of the 5 test games we played had the same rules.
Sounds about the norm.
Yeah, quite. As for the African Queen game, I actually wrote the rules on Friday night and playtested them before the show opened.
This is what you call swift playtesting.
What? I'm really chuffed. Yeah, no, to be fair, I wrote them on the Friday night. I playtested them in my head and with a bit of pen and paper and sort of mostly from the point of view of have I set the right turn limit kind of thing. And ran through a couple of games just to make sure I'd got everything right while we were waiting for folks to come in on the Saturday morning, and it turned out I'd absolutely nailed it. I was very pleased with myself. I ran through it twice and made it to the safety of the jetty where the German gunboat couldn't shell me with about 2 turns out of 20 to spare both times, and I thought that's about right.
Cool.
It was quite cool. It's the way it was done. You have a turn limit. You have so many hits. You have only 6 rounds of gunfire. You have a machete, and then there's sort of random chance of encounters. If you can see all the way through one hex because it's got a piece of straight channel on it, you can place the next one, and so on and so forth. And it all just worked, and I was very pleased with it. So we'll be doing that again at the other parties at Partisan. So if anybody wants to come along and have a go of any of the 3 games on the table, they'll be very welcome.
Excellent stuff.
Mm.
So is that it for what we've been playing?
That's it for what I've been playing.
Cool.
I think you were done.
Yeah, so in that case then, let's move on and let's have a look at what we've been getting up to on our painting tables and what we've been painting, what we've been building. Mr. Hobbs.
Me again. Oh, right. Well,
adventures in... Yes, carrying on with your distraction. Let's come back to that, shall we?
Right, yes. Well, I have been painting some tumbling dice planes.
Oh, yeah. Now, I see, that's somebody who doesn't do an awful lot of social media. Doesn't do... I mean, his website's functional, but that's about it. But is at it appears to be at every single show on the UK circuit.
Yeah.
He's everywhere, and let's face it, the stuff he produces, the planes and stuff he produces are blooming good. They are really nice.
Yeah, I mean, I've never looked at them before. Jeff sort of said, "Hi, Jeff." Jeff said, that's what you want, 1/600. So I went and had a look. I sort of thought, well, I want to do something small, nice little contained air campaign. So I'm doing Malta.
Oh, wow. Wow, okay.
Because my wife's grandfather was out there. He was out there for 2 years until he had a little accident with some aircraft fuel and a match. And then he had to come home for about a year before they shipped him over to Normandy. So, yes. He actually had the most unluckiest war I think I've ever heard. Well, that's actually not true, because he was very lucky because he got through it in one piece. Well,
Yeah.
mostly one piece. But to give you an example, he joined up in 38, a little bit young, trained as an aircraft mechanic. Just as the war was declared, his squadron was due to go over to Canada for a year to do training with the Canadian Air Force. Bit of a, with what happened, that's a nice little turn. But unfortunately, he went AWOL the night before to meet up with some girl, got busted, and they sent him over to North Africa.
Oops.
Instead of sending him to Canada.
Oops.
So, he sailed over to North Africa, got torpedoed by Gibraltar, ended up in Malta, and he went, well, you may as well stay here now instead of going to North Africa because it's far too quiet there. I mean, need mechanics. And basically saw out the entire Malta air war before getting shipped home. And like I say, he ended up, he told us originally he arrived in Normandy on D-Day +1, which we thought was on the 7th. But just before he died, I was chatting to him and he went, oh no, I came on one of the landing ships with my rifle. So he arrived at 7 o'clock in the morning on Gold Beach.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because the idea was that his unit was to get behind the fields on Gold Beach and set up an airfield, a quick temporary airfield for the RAF to land on and refuel and get back out again. So, hell of a bloke, lovely bloke. So I thought, doing a little bit of a Maltese air campaign would be nice. A nice sort of memorial for him. And it's not something I know much about, so so I've been painting those. I've done the Italians first. But
Italians?
lovely.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, they were very popular in Malta. Or rather, they weren't, due to the fact they were dropping bombs everywhere. So, I've started with the Italians. I'm doing early, sort of 1940, early part of 41. So, I've done those. I have carried on with my Conan stuff. And I've done the rest of my guards and some hyenas.
Mm-hmm.
And those. I've done more of the Lucid Eye Elves. So, I've done about 14 of those so far. They're coming on lovely. And finally, I've done some Avatars of War Dwarves.
Aha.
For which I'm going to hopefully use at OML. So I've done no Lord of the Rings this last 3 weeks. I've had a bit of a break. But after painting about 400 of the things, I think I deserve a break.
Yes. Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, so that's literally all I've been sort of painting and modelling.
Cool.
Mm.
Excellent stuff. Right. Yeah. My painting and modelling has stalled somewhat since our last discussion. I've done no miniature painting or anything at all, and it's something I really need to crack on with because I do have a fair amount to get done before Market Lawn. I have basically at least a third of each force to finish painting. So I've got to get, I've got to get my skates on with that. But actually, what I have been doing is I've been making some MDF terrain, some more of the more feudal Japan MDF terrain from various people, primarily Sarissa, Troll Trader, and also Blots. And interestingly, as you might imagine, looking at prices and stuff, Troll Traders is kind of a little bit cheap and cheerful. That's probably doing them a bit of a disservice. They do an awful lot. I mean, their construction is quite simple, and they do a lot of grey card detailing on their buildings, which
I really like.
Yeah, when you put them together and you got them painted, they look really effective.
Sarissa do that as well, and I have a lot of time for the way Sarissa do it.
Yes, I mean, Sarissa buildings are are really good, unless, but are interesting when you get it wrong. I posted a review up on the blog earlier this week of my thoughts on some Sarissa Japan buildings. Most are excellent. Some are a bit fiddly. The watermill is a fantastic looking miniature, but oh my word, there are bits of it which are, putting the water wheel together is...
wait till we get to my segment.
Oh, right, yeah. Putting the water wheel together is interesting, and then putting it together and then realising, after you put it together, and unfortunately at the bit where you know the glue is dry, and therefore the thing is a solid piece, that you got the orientation of the spindle wrong. And so,
boy, does that sound familiar.
Yeah, and so having to spend an extra, I don't know, half an hour or so whittling, so you can actually then turn this. So basically, at one point, I had to turn part of a square spindle into a round spindle, so it will turn in a square hole. So because I had the orientation of the water wheel out by 45 degrees. Oops, never mind. And as I expressed at the time on Twitter, and some people agreed with me, the Sarissa rice stores are horrendous to put together. Their tolerances are so slight. I mean, they've been put so basically the whole thing kind of all slots together.
Screw it. Let's have this discussion now rather than in two parts, shall we? The Sarissa River Launch.
Oh, right. Okay, yes.
Has a pot boiler.
Right.
And this pot boiler is basically about like 10 discs of MDF.
Ah, right. Yeah. Okay.
Which has a square hole at the middle.
Yeah.
And a suitably sized cut piece of MDF, which is fundamentally cut to be as wide as it's thick.
Right.
As the shaft.
Yeah.
Now, this is not the first of these I've had of Sarissa's. Every single one, unless you are really, really lucky, the spindle delaminates when you put it through the first hole.
Yeah.
At which point you are completely stuffed. And I must admit that when I got my hands on their demo model, I took a look, and guess what? It's got a piece of round plastic tubing down the hole. Enough said.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, yes, adventures in NDF construction. The one thing I will say is that Blot's buildings are a thing of beauty. Rather than the couple of buildings I've built of theirs, one is a very small shrine, their small Shinto shrine. The other one is one of their houses, and they are incredibly well engineered. Probably better engineered than what you'd expect given the price for them. So I would highly recommend Blot's buildings. They are really well done. Very impressive. So that's what I've been doing. I've been making MDF terrain, and other than that, I've been spending a lot of time sorting through boxes and finding all manner of miniatures and resin bits and vehicles in the spare room.
How's that going then, Neil?
Slow.
Shall we talk about it, or would you like to pass on?
No, not at this point in time. Not at this point in time. The trauma is too fresh.
I was to say the wounds are too fresh, are they? Neil? Okay,
they are.
When you're ready, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I am. Yes, I am still in the midst, and it is. Yes, there have been times. I was supposed to say there have been times when I have been sat looking at, thinking,
weeping.
Yes, pretty much on the verge of going. First off, how on earth did I manage to accumulate all this stuff? Secondly, how on earth did I manage to cram all this stuff into a 6x4 box room? And thirdly, where on earth am I now going to put all this stuff?
No,
Since that
doesn't
box
sound
room
at all
is being
familiar.
repurposed.
Well, you have to out because you're already broken now. Your sheds are full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you, yeah. I'm currently okay. So if anybody has one, I'm currently on the market for a TARDIS. Okay, because I do need somewhere to put all my stuff. So a TARDIS that can fit in a nice double wardrobe. I'll be up for that. And so if anybody's got one, please let me know. That's me.
Guess that means me then. So quite predictably, I was assembling ship singular. Aside from previous comments, lovely little kit, quite a clever little design, in that it's built up from a series of stacked layers to form the hull. So that you've got about 6 layers, the first one of which is the waterline deck, and then the next few are hollow to form the sides. And the last one's got the full deck on it, and then everything else fits on there. It is actually, apart from the irritation with the boiler, which I said distinctly amused to see that they appeared to have worked around by not using their own supplied parts. It's a lovely little kit. It's really quite pretty. Other than that, painted the 2 Old Glory motor launches, which then nice little pieces of resin with white metal Hotchkiss 6-pounder on the front, and a few other little bits. They come with 3 figures each, of which one is the infamous Commander Spicer Simpson, who unfortunately you can't really use for anything else because of his predilection for wearing a skirt.
Aha!
He's a very, very odd man. Certainly for his time, he was a very odd man in a number of ways. Also had some cobblestone German officers to paint up for the German side, along with some stuff that we had already from various people at the club. So that was that. And then designed and 3D printed SMS Kingani, which is about 30 centimetres long. Will not fit on my printer bed, so it had to be done in 2 parts. In fact, 3 parts, because I did the front gun separately. But that was quite fun. Figuring out how to do dovetail joints. Just to because otherwise I was just going to be winding up gluing 2 flat surfaces together, which is never a good thing with PLA filament, because it doesn't glue very well for some annoying reason. So with a little bit of hindsight, it's one of those things where making the 2 halves of the dovetail joint exactly the same size makes it really tight, and you end up having to do a bit of filing. So I'm going to have to take off a fraction of a mil when I reprint it, so that it actually goes together with a little less pain. But that's pretty much all I've been doing, apart from I actually got around to painting my Gaslands gates, so they don't look like grey plastic. They look like rusty metal now, which I suppose is an improvement. That's pretty much all I've been doing. I've been kind of busy with things like new jobs and prepping for salute, basically.
Excellent stuff. Okay, so that's what we've been painting. We've done gaming, which leaves it's confession time.
Time for the merry sound of the cash register.
Okay, fess up, chaps.
Oopsie.
What have we been buying this month?
Okay. Let's go for the easy one. So we know about Lucid Eye. I've bought elves. Many elves. Many elves. We know about Bagdahan. I've bought the a small section of the Italian Air Force and some British.
A small section of the Italian Air Force. Yeah, okay.
I got to say, I spent £20, and I've got 2 complete, forces. Bargain, Yeah. Got by the Luftwaffe yet. So, yeah, done that. Got some stands for those. So, Oh God, it's Jeff again. Hi, Jeff.
Yeah. Who makes those stands? They look quite nifty.
Jeff made them for me.
Oh, cool.
They're not for sale. I don't know. I think he doesn't like cutting acrylic because it smells.
It smells worse than
it's not good for you either, I don't think.
No. That's why he's got a great big breathing apparatus and all the windows open. He came up with this idea of having the clear hex and then this circular thing for the altitude that sits on top, and then a little bit of plain acrylic 2mm tube sits on top of that with a little magnet on top of it. So so got those, put those together. I obviously bought Water Tanker, as did everybody else in the wargaming universe.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from Dave.
Look at the bright side, we're paying Richie's mortgage.
We are. And he deserves it as well. So, that's the things we know about.
That's the things we know about. I do know one extra thing, because obviously relating to the planes, you did tweet a picture of a particular paint set that you bought, just in case you didn't have enough paints.
Oh yeah, I haven't put that on my list. When I was looking at paint colours, I realised I don't have many Air Force colour paints.
Strange that.
Yeah, I managed to get by for the Italians. Yeah, so I bought the Air War sets from Villaggio. It's their Model Air paints. So they're thinner. Obviously, they're designed for airbrush. But I've used them before. They work perfectly well with a standard hairy stick, especially over a light base coat. So I got the RAF one for desert and Mediterranean, and I got 2 full Luftwaffe. I got the Luftwaffe early and the Luftwaffe in North Africa. So yeah, you can never have too many paints, Neil. You know this.
Indeed.
So I got those. Right, Pear. Hello, Pear.
Hi, Pear.
Pear's a lovely man.
Indeed he is. Oh, by the way, congratulations, Pear, on 100 blog posts. Congratulations.
Yes. Well, yes. So he sent me a little message a while ago saying that he's doing an order for Eureka to pick up a salute. And if he gets over a certain amount, he gets a 20% discount. So I graciously helped him get over that amount.
Sorry.
Oh dear.
Come on, it was a good discount. So I've bought some more Hawkmoon figures.
Oh, right. Oh,
Yeah.
Is this in what scale?
Oh, both.
Oh.
Yeah. So I got enough of the Calmag figures to do a nice force for a certain fantasy game, which might be available soon. Well, not soon. It might be available next year. And I bought one pack of the Grand Britannian Wolf clan to have a look at those. And I also bought a pack of their 10mm Grand Britannians.
Ooh.
Very, very nice. And they'll do perfectly well for Sword and Spear Fantasy. So yeah, got that.
Not to mention whatever it is we're calling it this week.
Well, not 10mm. No, I'm going to do it on big bases for Sword and Spear.
Okay.
Yeah, you could play the fantasy game with no name in 10mm if you wanted to, but you don't want to pay in 28mm like a proper man. I got a set of the 1914 rules from Great Escape Games. So thank you, Stuart, for that. I'm going to have a little read of that. What else? Well, as we were playing Water Tanker, Jeff, that bad influence, hello Jeff, for the 20th time, suggested that we do North Africa, because we only need one tank each.
In what scale?
So I bought an Italian M1340 in 28mm.
Oh, cool.
Because it's the crappiest tank around. And I've also bought a box of Frostgrave Barbarians to go with my Dark Elf army. And that's about it. It was 3 weeks, though. I was doing really well until everything turned up this week.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking back, I'm kind of starting to think that my last few weeks has kind of started to get a little out of hand. Anyway, so obviously last time around we confessed. I think we just snuck in with the fact that I bought. We confessed we got Legion. Right. Okay. So it's doing really well. Went to Chilcon up in Ecclesfield, and I think I don't actually. I think I actually got away with that. Oh no! I did buy something. I forget. What did I? Yeah. I bought a couple of things for Gangs of Rome. Just a couple of figures for Gangs of Rome. That was about it. I didn't get a lot of stuff from Chilcon. Then we obviously had this game of Star Wars Legion, and it's all Richie's fault. One thing that looked seriously cool on the day was the fact that Rich had mounted his Rebel Airspeeder. He put it on a ball joint on his bait, and it's a ring magnet and a ball bearing, basically. It looks seriously cool as you had it flying around the table, banking around rocks and all that sort of. It looks stunningly good. And so I got back and started having a look to kind of go, so where can you get these from then? And apologies, I forget who it was, but somebody popped up and said, "Oh, Green Stuff World," who I'd never heard of before. But Green Stuff World, okay, they're a Spanish company, I believe, and they do all sorts of very useful bits and pieces, including
greenstuffworld.com, Valencia, Spain.
Indeed. Including several different sizes of what they call rotary magnets. So basically, they have several sets. I mean, they market them aimed actually at X-Wing.
They do a bit, don't they?
Yeah. So basically, depending on the size, they say, okay, it's basically a case of you cut the peg off the flight stand, you replace it with a ball bearing, you glue the magnet, or you attach the magnet to the ship, and basically, you can have your X-Wings and TIE Fighters banking in various little bits and pieces, and they look super cool. So I succumbed and bought several packs of those to do my X-Wing, and also for doing things like the Airspeeder and probably the speeder bikes and stuff as well.
I wonder if one of those is man enough to hold a Lancaster.
The XL1 might.
The XL is 10 mil.
Yeah. It might. Okay.
10 mil ball, 12 mil magnet. You have to get the balance right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Mike, it's you're doing the dambusters. They have to come in low and level. You've got to excuse for them not banking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unless it's about to crash.
In which case,
yeah. In which case, it doesn't really matter if it kind of goes off kilter a bit.
Yeah.
It's crashing. Yes. Yeah. Right. Okay. So that kind of started things. I bought a. Yes. So what? Yes. Water tanker. Yeah. Got water tanker, and we were thinking before, even as water tanker was approaching, I was already considering what we would do with water tanker. Now, obviously, we have vehicles and terrain for Normandy, but everybody says, or a lot of people say, that actually, tank battles wise, Normandy isn't a great place to do tank battles.
No, you want open land, open steppes is what you want.
Yeah. If you want if you want to do fun town battles, you have open country and crap tanks.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Which basically means you're kind of looking at either Barbarossa or Western Desert. Or
bits of Italy.
Or bits. Yeah, maybe. But I'm thinking earlier war. I kind of went, okay, right. Let's do water tanker in Western Desert. I thought, okay, let's go early. So, okay, but not kind of 1940 early. So somebody has to be lumbered with the Italians, because obviously, what person in their right mind would want to play Italians?
What's wrong with the Italians? He said in a very high-pitched voice.
Who said you were in your right mind?
What's wrong with the Italians?
Yes. Anyway, so I chose. So I thought, okay, we'll do 1940. I was looking around for some. I thought, okay, just put a couple of buildings on the table. So I was sort of thinking, okay, what's the use of buildings? And the aforementioned Blotz company happen to have a nice little selection of 15mm MDF buildings, and they are very reasonably priced. And since I was putting an order in for some acrylic counters for Test of Honor from them, I decided to pick up 4, maybe 5 small desert buildings from them. So that was that.
You bought them, have you?
Why?
Because I could send you a whole village in 50mm, which I won't be using, all painted.
Oh, really?
Western Desert.
Yeah.
Well,
Karen King.
Well, I haven't actually kind of opened them yet.
Would you like to see shall I take a photograph of the ones I've got, and you can decide if you want them?
Oh yeah, go on then.
Okay.
If he doesn't, I will.
First dibs, shotgun.
Rock, paper, scissors on 3. 1, 2, 3.
You go first.
Asp's very dangerous. You go first. Oh, hang on. No, that's something else entirely.
Yes, right. And then I got ordered a couple of other Japanese MDF buildings and some blossom trees from Troll Trader. And then someone came up with a couple of ideas that appeared on social media, looking at a new different trees for using with feudal Japan. And I'm still waiting for these to turn up, so they might end up not working, but someone came up with the idea and said, okay, if you want an unusual looking tree, some companies do these plastic bonsai trees. And they said, okay, well, order the plastic bonsai tree. When it arrives, take it out of the plastic pot it comes in, and mount it on a terrain base, and you've got an interesting looking Japanese tree. So I bought a couple of those off eBay. I'll have a look.
As you do.
As you do.
I just, as somebody who collects bonsais, the idea of bonsai is that you basically you shape it. You take a natural thing and you shape it into a particular shape, which is beautiful when you do it in a small scale tree. They didn't do it on real trees, Neil. They didn't take a 40-foot elm and think, I'm just going to bend the trunk. Bonsais only go so, I've seen some big bonsais. I've seen like a 8-foot high bonsai. You don't normally see forests of them.
Which is why I only bought a couple.
I'm sure it'll look lovely.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. Yes. Anyway. Then someone else, somebody else was on Twitter and suggested, posted a video, was talking about using different paintbrushes or using different brushes for dry brushing. I do a lot of dry brushing, and I don't know. I always struggle with dry brushing because I know you're supposed to use rubbish. Rubbish.
No. You're not meant to. It just people use it. You're meant to use quite a nice flat brush for dry brushing.
Well, this guy's actually some of the best flat brushes to use for dry brushing aren't actually paint brushes.
Nope.
But rather makeup brushes.
Yep.
So I thought I'd give that a go. So I bought a set of makeup brushes to give that a go, and I'll report back and let you know. Okay? Because apparently they're nice and wide and they're quite soft, and apparently they're really good for dry brushing. Who knew?
They are. They're really good. An ex-girlfriend of mine when I was a kid was really good at dry brushing some of my airface kits.
So that, and then right. I'd had when we did Test of Honor, they gave us a voucher for Dico Studios, and I was looking around for thinking, okay, right, Gaslands need a track for Gaslands. Somebody recommended there was a particular like a figure of 8. Well, there's a dirt track that you could buy from
Tiny War Games.
No, it's not that one.
Tiny War Games do one as well.
Yes, Tiny War Games do a 6x4 mat. Which has an oval and figure of 8 on it. However, there was one that you could purchase, and you purchase the PDF, and it's on the all the usual PDF sites, War Games Vault and stuff like that. Okay, and it's about $5, and that's a 4x4 mat. But I wanted to be able to play it on a dining table. So, using good old Printo mat from Dico Studios, first off, I bought that image, shrunk it by 25%, so it would fit on a 3x3, and did that via Printo mat, and got one of those, and that is really cool. That is a thing of beauty. A relatively small track, 3x3 for playing Gaslands on, and I bought a set of the resin conversion kits for Matchbox vehicles from Ramshackle Games. So I'm all set up to convert all my vehicles for Gaslands. And I know we talked about Western Desert, and then Water Tanker PDF arrived, and I had a look at the tech trees, and I may have bought the odd British and German tank in 15mm. The odd one or two. Or maybe a tech tree each. I think when I counted it was about... Oh, that's it, because I've actually just ordered another couple today. It's about 23 tanks in. And it's all that...
Free!
Well, it's so that if you got 4 people, each can actually run 2 tanks. Although I did commit a bit of a faux pas because I didn't do my research properly, and so it's got an issue because apparently the P35T and the P38T were not used in North Africa, which basically I bought 2 each of those. So I'm either going to have to do it's a what if. which I'm sure put some people's backs up, because I have seen people paint up, especially P38Ts in African core colours, but apparently they never went. Yeah, I bought 20 odd 15mm tanks. So Luffy's gonna like Water Tanker whether he likes it or not.
Or failing that, just do early war chain of command.
Well, there is that. But yeah, so lots of British cruiser tanks up to the Matilda, and lots of early variant German army. Great stuff. And then finally today I bought a copy of Burrows and Badgers, and that's me.
Makes me look good.
It does.
You both make me look good.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so some total of purchases, not very many. I suppose the copy of Water Tanker counts.
Of course it does.
I think I did actually pay for it. So I've actually paid for it since the last show. So since the last of these we did. So yes, it does count. Some cobblestone World War I Ascari and German officers for the Tanganyika game. What else? Some Sarissa MDF. Specifically, I bought in their World War Europe range. They have a rather nice a couple of airfield control towers, which looked like they would be the kind of thing you might want to use for a World War II game, say set in Britain during Operation Sea Lion. For those of us who happen to own lots of Home Guard, gee, wonder who that could be.
They'd be useful, especially with those land girls you got.
Among other things, yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was one purchase. I also picked up, and it's so new, it's not actually on their website that I can find, their Dark Ages longboat. It's very nice.
Oh, that was newly released at Salute, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yes,
I said
nice.
It's so new, it's not on the not on the website.
Mm.
The only other observation that I would make of that is the club now owns 4 between them, from 4 different manufacturers, and 18 feet of lino.
Evading we will go, evading we will go.
There's got to be something you can do with 4 Dark Age lunches.
Just got to build Linda's farm.
Yeah. Or something.
You ever had a big time then, Neil? Do you want us to call for help?
Did you not recognise that? Oh, good grief!
It sounded like a manatee giving birth.
No, it's the thing for the Vikings.
Here was me thinking it was the theme from Noggin the Nog.
Yeah.
And I bought a tiny War Games mat.
Which one?
The Arid Grass one.
Very useful.
Has many uses for those of us who like Italy or the Peninsula or the greener bits of the Western Desert or.
Yeah.
Yes,
basically.
I think I might have to get one of those for.
I have just spotted while trawling through the Sarissa site something that you almost have to have for a Home Guard game.
Mm-hmm.
The World War I converted pigeon loft bus.
Oh yes.
Yes. Oh, most definitely.
It's just most of these sort of World War I things just fit beautifully into Home Guard, don't they?
Indeed.
But it's a Type B bus with a pigeon loft on top.
Excellent.
It's got to be good for something.
Communication centre.
You'd have thought so. Objective.
Yes.
Jump off point. I don't know. It just looked at it and went, got to do something with that. I might have to pick one of those up at some point.
Excellent stuff.
And that, I think, was pretty much me, if you don't count a can of white army paint and spray paint.
Cool. Excellent stuff. Right, okay. So I think we're all done.
But before we go on, can I just say something, Neil?
Yes.
It's an end of an era.
Is it?
Because for many, many years I've been running the Diary of the War Games Butterfly.
Yeah.
But the Diary of the War Games Butterfly is no more.
No, say it ain't so.
Yeah, I passed on the mantle. So mainly because I'm just embracing the Welsh wizard.
Eventually.
Eventually, it's been forced on me. But also, there's a lovely bloke on Twitter called Mel whose handle is the War Games Butterfly, and I just thought, lovely. So, yes, the Diary of War Games Butterfly has been rebranded as the Musings of the Welsh Wizard.
It has indeed. I'm looking at it right now.
Excellent stuff.
I couldn't be asked to do anything else to it.
And apparently this week's name is Sort Out the Kobolds.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's upon that? I've got to do another blog post. So
you should be able to find a way of making that every time you reload the page, it loads up a different image with a different title.
I could do, but means I have to take lots of pictures of different titles.
Oh, jeez, man! Oh, sort out the Kazi.
Yeah, and I was going to do another edition of our ever popular "What's My Other Mate Dave Been Up To This Week?"
What has your other mate Dave been up to this week, mate?
Well, mainly having listened to the last one, accusing us of being a bunch of total incomplete and utter but there we go.
Is that because we were mean to him, or because we found yet more things he could spend his money on?
A bit of both.
A bit of both.
What's he been buying?
First off, it has to be said. We were talking about paints.
Yeah.
And let's get him. Get him to try some Foundry Triads.
They'll change your life.
Achievement. Yes. Achievement. Got him to buy some at BritCon. Not BritCon. Chillcon.
That's 5 points to me.
5 points to Gryffindor.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's been buying yet more. It's got a serious thing for Gangs of Rome scenery. So you may have noticed that Sarissa again have just released
more.
Yet more. They've just released. At Chillcon they'd released the aqueduct and the aqueducting under construction. So he bought that.
Nice.
And that is seriously nice. And apparently he's also succumbed this week and bought the new starter kit for Gangs of Rome, which includes a really, really nice looking temple under construction. Considering the price of that, I mean that's that building is almost.
Has he bought the amphitheatre? Has he bought the amphitheatre yet?
No, he hasn't bought the amphitheatre yet.
You'll know when he does. It's £100.
Oh yes, I know. Yes, I know.
Has he bought the 2 Roman ships yet?
That means he's got to do a harbour.
That means he's got to do a harbour, and they're not producing the harbour for another couple of months yet.
Oh, yeah, there's ways around that.
Yeah.
Anyway, he could do a bit of 3D printing, couldn't he?
He could.
He could probably print off some stuff.
If you, for example, if he was to go printable scenery, they do a very nice semi-fantasy Wharfs and Keys set as part of their stuff, which he could use. And all he'd need then is a 3D printer, and they're not that expensive.
Yeah. So, what 3D printer would you suggest for?
Well, I've got a CEL Robox, which are a bit pricey. But if you're only doing small bits of terrain, you could do worse than something like the Da Vinci, which is only about £300.
Oh, yeah.
And he's very much sort of consumer plug and play rather than one of these ones where you need to take a screwdriver to every last bit to make it work.
Perfect. It sounds perfect for somebody who's never really used one.
So it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
I mean, I know that I've had my reservations about them in the past, Mike, but I can see the real benefit of 3D printing now.
Who are you and what have you done with Mike Hobbs?
Yep.
It's all part of this rebranding from the Wargames Butterfly to Welsh Wizard, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if I was Dave Hickman, I would be looking seriously at getting a 3D printer.
Isn't his bank balance lucky you're not?
In other news, he may have backed the odd Kickstarter.
Oh dear. What's he?
Including the one from the latest Midland Miniatures one that has all manner of halfling adventurers.
Oh, nice, good choice.
And also another one that I noticed Mr. Hobbs was completely missing from your roundup. Although you would turn around and say Kickstarters don't count until they arrive.
Which one's that?
Battle for Heroes of Stalingrad.
I mentioned it last week.
Did you? Oh, okay. Yeah. Apparently, I found out this week that he backed Heroes of Stalingrad.
Hey, good man, Dave.
So there we go. So that's what my mate Dave has been up to. As yet again he progresses from a board gamer to war gamer.
Yeah, about the same rate as you're going the other way.
Excuse me, I've always been both.
Let's just say that we're taking.
Well, can I just point out that 3 years ago I had to fight to get you to even talk about board games?
Different times.
Right.
It's true. It's true, though. I did. Listeners will bear me out. 3 years ago, I was the lone voice saying, "Aren't we called Meeples and Miniatures?"
Moving on. Shall we? Moving on.
Which is Neil. For those who aren't aware, dear listeners, that's Neil speak for "Yes, you're right, Mike." Next.
I think we've been recording this particular section of the show for far too long.
Yeah, we've just got the one little bit that we quite often do, which is interesting things folks have spotted.
Yes, so we'll do that at the end of the at the end. We'll take a break.
Someday I'll remember how we timed this show. You know.
Yes, we'll take a break, and when we and we'll have an interview now. But when we come back before the end of the show, we will be flagging up a couple of things of interest that you might not have spotted, or stuff that we spotted and kind of gone, "Oh, that's really cool." But first, an interview with Michael Lovejoy from Oathsworn Miniatures.
The nation is vast. There are battlefields of old, great convention halls, and worlds of fantasy to explore. Who will guide us across this great geek nation?
Since 2010, Geek Nation Tours have been providing holidays for groups of like-minded people. Whatever your nature of geek, tabletop gaming, TV, film, comic books, sports or science, Geek Nation Tours caters for you. Visit www.geeknationtours.com for more details and join the great Geek Nation. Have you ever wondered what's going on in wargaming? We do too. So come with us as we go behind the hobby with the Meeples and Miniatures interview. For some reason, I find myself even more outnumbered by Michaels than usual. We've just commented, not only are we now Mike squared, but we are indeed Mike cubed, as we are joined by Michael Lovejoy from Oathsworn Miniatures. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. You all right?
Yeah, not so bad, mate. Not so bad. Great to talk to you again. Yeah, I know we bumped into each other on the show circuit a couple of times, but it's been it's been about just over 12 months since we last chatted. Episode 194, for if people are interested, was the last time we got to chat to you. So it is fantastic to be able to chat on air to you again.
Oh, thanks very much.
Cool.
Glad to be here.
This time, I understand, without your lovely wife.
Yes, she is unfortunately flat out with prepping stuff for Salute. Obviously, it's 3 weeks away, and we're only just starting, so we're a little bit behind.
Oh, right, yes, because you just delivered a Kickstarter, haven't you?
Yeah. Just the third of our Sensible Shoes ones. It took forever. It really did. We were bit stuff all over the house, but it's done now at least.
All right, so that's finished, and then all of a sudden it's like, eek, Salute is 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
Right, so you're chatting to us with your feet up, a beverage, whilst your good lady is slaving away over a hot resin caster.
Yep, pretty much. She wouldn't have it any other way.
And then was I asking her, going to ask her what was the next step in her terrain taking over the world. But never mind.
I think you've got your answer.
Yeah. She's got a few bits prepped, but to be honest, with that side of things, we're constantly running out of time because she's also doing kind of the picking and packing and ordering and all that sort of thing, and so she's just behind on sculpting stuff anyway. So I don't know that she would have had an interesting answer for you.
Right. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is catch up with what's been happening with Oathsworn for the past couple of years. No, couple of years, a year. Now, the main reason we're we've got you on the show is, if people are not aware, we will be very soon seeing a brand spanking new hardback, large hardback.
Yes, yeah. So similar to Frostgrave, basically.
Yeah,
it's that series.
Okay, similar to Frostgrave version of Burrows and Badgers, which is the main reason we've got you on the show to chat about that. But obviously, as I say, the first thing we need to do is catch up with what you've been up to since we last spoke. So as I say, that was 12 months ago. So what have you been doing the last 12 months?
Mostly Burrows and Badgers is the honest answer. We had all kinds of projects planned for last year. I know when we spoke last time, I'd already sculpted a bunch of science fiction miniatures. We had a little rule set, Dark 7, little skirmish rule set, which we've finally managed to finish playtesting. That's been sort of ready to print and go for about 6 months now. We just haven't had time to do anything with it. Other than that, it's been sculpting for Sensible Shoes to try and expand the range, sculpting for Burrows and Badgers, obviously writing Burrows and Badgers, and we've been dabbling with RPGs basically as well, but nothing's ready to go on that front yet, because Burrows and Badgers has just taken up all the time.
Dabbling with RPGs, is that something we need to come back to a bit later then?
Could do.
Well, that sounds interesting. Oh, right, okay, so obviously you've been continuing on with your business process of releasing, of doing waves of releases supported by small and in some cases incredibly small Kickstarters. So is that still going well? Are you still finding that is the thing that really works for you?
It is. I mean, obviously, in an ideal world, you just release miniatures and people would buy them. But I do think, particularly for a smaller company, Kickstarter has become effectively the shop window. That's kind of how people do things now. Customers ask us when the next Kickstarter is, rather than when are you going to release something. So I do think without it, we wouldn't really be able to release things.
Cool. Let's look at Heroines in Sensible Shoes. What wave of releases are we up to now? Because as I say, you just finished fulfilling the last Kickstarter. What did that include?
Yeah, that was we were trying to change it up a bit there. The Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, Volo's Guide to Monsters had come out, and there were a lot of new options for player characters, a lot of more obscure stuff like Fearbolg and Tabaxi and Kenku, things like that, things that generally there weren't really miniatures for. So I just thought, well, that'd be a fun thing to sculpt, because it's nice to do something different from time to time. And so we did that. We various female versions of those different character types.
All right, so she's very, very much a case of working along the same lines of, okay, actually what we're doing is supplying stuff specifically to the RPG community here.
Yes, I think that's what it's kind of become. They're more, yeah, it's RPG stuff. It's basically what I've been inspired to do while we've been gaming. So new stuff gets released, we start playing new scenarios in games and things, and we need new characters, and thankfully other people do too, so they buy them.
Is that something that you found, for example, as you? I know your presence on the show circuit is limited, and but is that something that you found, as you've gone around the various shows? That really is where the demand lies.
To be honest, on the shows we sell 90% Burrows and Badgers stuff. The RPG stuff barely sells at all at wargame shows in the UK. Even on Kickstarter, we are probably 70% to the USA in a Sensible Shoes one. I guess it's a bigger market for role playing over in the US. So they tend to be something we sell at Kickstarter and don't really do a lot with anywhere else.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, because I seem to remember because obviously we seem to catch up with each other a lot at like the UK Games Expo last year.
Yeah,
and yeah. I know. Come the end of the weekend, you were saying, well, actually, all things considered, we could probably not bring that rack and bring more of that rack.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it's reflected, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing that at Salute this year. We're not going to take a rack for the Sensible Shoes stuff at all. We're just going to have them, we've got like a catalogue listing for them, and we'll just bring them in a box, basically under the table. If people want them, then they will hopefully have them there for them. But it's just, I think Wargames shows in the UK are particularly focused on tabletop miniatures gaming and a lot less focused on things like role-playing.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Expo's the exception there, because there's a lot of role players there, but again, predominantly board gamers. So we do shift some of them there, but mostly I think it's for the American market.
All right, cool. Okay, so that's just that was just Sensible Shoes, and then obviously you've also just run another wave Kickstarter for Burrows and Badgers, haven't you? With several new characters, depressingly absent from the lineup. Were weasels.
They were, weren't they? Yeah. We did ask people beforehand what they wanted to see, and there were loads of votes went in, and so I sculpted the stuff that got the most votes, and nobody voted for any weasels. So
you didn't vote, did you, Neil?
Yeah, the trouble is, even if you do, you don't get a lot of votes. I mean, well, without me, swamping
Canvassing
Facebook.
is the word, mate.
Canvassing, yes. Yes, everybody. Yes, vote weasel.
Yeah, I'll make sure there's weasels next time.
I'm not answer to that, mate.
Can you do a weasel with a big placard saying "Vote Weasel"?
Okay, so right, so that again seems to do rather well.
Yeah, they do well. I mean, it was a surprise the first time we did one, really, because it's totally unknown quantity. I mean, it's obviously miniatures themselves are a niche, and then fantasy miniatures are another niche on top of that, and then when you make them anthropomorphic animals, that drops it down even further. But obviously enough people wanted them that it's been worthwhile doing. So plus they're really good fun to sculpt. Nobody can tell you've got them wrong for a start. There's no historical details to tie them to particularly, so I can grab from sort of any period I like and add bits on. And because they're enjoyable to do, I think that comes across. People, they like them, they kind of get behind it, the idea, and it's just a bit of fun, really. I think people like that.
The next wave of miniatures, what we're likely to see, is it June time, is it?
Well, they're being cast now. The moulds have been done. We should be picking them up, fingers crossed, on the 6th of April.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So hoping that we'll hopefully manage to start delivery before Salute. That's the plan anyway. I'm highly unlikely to get it all finished before Salute. But
I was going to say, I mean, how many hours are actually in your day?
they're pretty long days. But we'll at least get it started before Salute, I would think. Mm-hmm. So assuming they are ready on the 6th.
Cool. Yeah. Right. Okay. So obviously, this next wave obviously comes out in anticipation again of the release of a new set of rules from Osprey. So, how did it come about that Burrows and Badgers ended up getting picked up by Osprey?
It was UK Games Expo, not last year, year before. We had the miniatures there. I'd done a kind of my initial version of the game was just a little sort of A5 size book that I'd had done by a kind of vanity publisher where you can just order 50 or 60 copies at a time. And there were loads of mistakes in it, but we'd had some printed, took them with us to the expo, and while we were there, Phil Smith from Osprey wandered by, picked up a copy, and he was reading it in his hotel room that night, decided he really liked it, came back the next day and asked if they could publish it. And that was basically it.
Oh, cool. So you got headhunted?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Fame at last.
Excellent stuff. Right, so obviously, there's a bit of a difference between, a small A5 book and a large hardback Osprey publication. So, what happened and how did one transform into the other?
There was a few things we thought we'd change. We were looking at, just from the rules perspective, we were looking at going to just using D6s. It used polyhedral dice, which I thought suited the kind of RPG light skirmish game theme. But we were thinking that to try and sort of expand, everyone's got D6s, so maybe it should be a 2D6 system instead. So what I did for writing this version, that we got a playtest group set up on Facebook, and I rewrote the rules to be a 2D6 system and had a load of little books printed, sent them out to all the different playtesters, and basically no one liked it, which that was pretty universal. Not one of the playtesters, they all said it worked fine as a game. It didn't have the same appeal that it did have with the polyhedral dice. It felt completely different. So pretty quickly we scrapped that version, dumped all the extra books that I'd printed for playtesting, and rewrote it again to be more similar to the original, and went from there, really. I think one of the issues we had with writing it is that I didn't have when I was doing my first version, was you've kind of got to fit in with what the publisher wants. So things like we had a 30,000 word limit, which sounds a lot, but you get through it pretty quickly. So we reached the point where I can include this set of skills, or I can include these extra characters, and you've got to make a decision as to which you're going to keep and which you're going to drop.
Yeah, we had something very similar when we were talking to Mike Hutchison about Gaslands.
Oh yeah.
He was saying that the reason the campaign system is up on the website is he didn't have space for it.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Blue Book series, especially, it's only 64 pages, and you're losing 3 or 4 of them just to contents and things like that. So yeah, very limited on what you can put in. In some ways, it's a help, because we do have a tendency to just waffle on and add more rules and more content and make everything more and more complicated all the time. At least when you've got a limit, you do have to think critically about what you're saying and try and get it in the most concise and understandable form you can.
Yeah. I suppose it is that editing aid, isn't it? The fact that actually you do realise it, especially when every word counts, even when you've got 30,000 of them. It does kind of help to concentrate the mind in how verbose you are being, with what you're writing.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, when I used to write essays at school and it was 1,500 words for homework, I used to think that was a huge amount. It's like a page and a half of A4, It used to take me forever. But with a 30,000 word limit, it just didn't go anywhere. So, there were things in the original. We had a set of freelancers, which were just kind of special characters who you could hire for your warband for one-off games, things like that. And they were used for balancing games and that. And in the end, I just cut them out completely, because they were around 4,000 words that just didn't really help. So they've been dropped. Maybe I'll bring it back as a PDF or something like that. But yeah, again, you got to pick and choose what you're leaving and what you take out.
Sure. So yeah. word count difference. What was the difference between your original A5 book? Approximately how many words was that?
It was pretty similar. The problem was there were things I wanted to add. There was we needed to expand certain areas of it. There are bits that had been left out of the original. The campaign system was okay, but it needed a bit more work to it, and it builds really quickly. A couple of pages here and there of extra material, and pretty soon something's got to give. So they were similar amounts, but the new stuff kind of meant we had to pick and choose.
Yeah, I suppose it is one of the shames of Osprey, though, isn't it? It's because they are putting you onto very tight word counts. It just means that with a lot of their rules, they do seem to be very compacted, and then the rules writers have to then release other stuff externally.
Yeah. I suspect that's inevitable. Not just with Osprey, with any set of rules. If you can overdo them, and I think there's already a fair bit in there. I mean, we've kept the rules as simple as possible, but with all the extra bits that get added on with when you've got a warband kind of game with progression and a campaign system, all that, the bookkeeping element kind of gets out of hand very quickly if you're not careful. So I was quite glad to cut certain aspects of it.
Yeah, I suppose it's the power of having a really good editor, isn't it, to sort of trim down what you've written.
Yeah, to a certain extent, yeah. For me, that side of things was the hardest bit of any of it, really, because when you're writing it for yourself, you can put in what you want. You can lay it out how you want. You've got complete control, and obviously with this, you don't. Someone else is doing all that. The advantage to this, obviously, is that you get a very nice hardback, full-colour book with all the art and professionally done and all the rest of it, which is fantastic. What you give up for that is the fact that you're not actually in charge of it. You're writing it, but it's not kind of your book. So, and that it's never easy for me, that kind of thing. Worked for myself for far too long, really. I think I'm not good at other people telling me what to do.
Yeah, we do hear this quite a lot, and a lot of people sort of seem to start with Osprey and then move on to self-publishing.
Yeah. No, I can see that. That said, if the opportunity arose again, I'd happily work with them again. They've delivered a very nice looking product here. I'm really looking forward to getting to grips with it.
Yeah, I mean, from the pictures you've shown, it looks fantastic. It really. Yeah. And you do get the bonus of it being available in bookshops across the world, which you'll never get when you self-publish. So
no, that's it. Absolutely. The downside for us with that, I think, is that we're pretty much only going to sell the miniatures direct. We've looked at, because I thought we're ideal opportunity with the book being all over the place to try and get the miniatures into shops and things. But the only way we can do it is by putting the prices up. And don't really want to do that. It's sort of relatively cheap to get into as a game as it stands, I think. But I mean, you'd be virtually doubling the prices to get them in stores, and I don't want to be an expensive miniatures game,
Yeah, obviously, because once you start taking distribution into account, and everybody wants their little piece of the pie, and so by the end of it.
Yeah, well, that's it. Distribution, you're looking at, often over 60% or so just to go through distribution discounts. And I mean, some of the miniatures we've got, by the time you've got blister packing and cards and foams and bases in there, and then you've done distribution, we'd actually lose money at the current price. So obviously we can't do that. So you'd have to put the prices up, and
But yeah, I was going to say, but the bonus for you is there's nobody else out there doing miniatures for Burrows and Badgers. So,
well, you'd say that, wouldn't you? But I've seen a couple of reviews online from review copies that have been sent out, and both the people that reviewed it were saying which miniatures they were going to use, and they weren't ours. So there must be, there's obviously something out there.
Splintered Light springs to mind, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. Hush now, Neil. Let's not be.
No. The problem with those, I guess, is the size.
They're 15 mil, aren't they?
They're all sort of between 15 and 20. Because, I mean, Dark Sword do a very nice range as well. Again, it's a similar problem that they have to Splintered Light in that they're all the same size. And obviously, one of the things with the Burrows and Badgers stuff is that we've got shrews as really little guys, and sort of right up to Badgers as kind of your big ogre troll size guys, and various miniatures in between, and that's reflected in the rules. So if you were using miniatures where a shrew was the same size as a badger, it would just seem a bit weird while you were playing it that one of them was getting mashed into a pancake by the other one, which is reasonable when you look at the size difference between the miniatures we're using.
Yeah. So what we're saying is there are other miniatures out there, but the better ones are the ones produced by Oathsworn.
Absolutely, yeah. Certainly the ones I'd use for the game.
Yeah.
They're the ones the game's designed to work with. So, but at the end of the day, people want to buy a game, they can use whatever miniatures they want with it. It's I do it myself with all kinds of games.
Yeah, so I suppose we need to go back and find out. Right, okay, can you give us an overview of, I know we've talked about this before, but especially with the new version of the game, maybe some people are actually coming to this for the first time. So can you give us a bit of an overview of the rules, how it works, and if people are familiar with it, what has changed with this edition of the rules?
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so the game as it stands is a would you call it a skirmish? Well, I don't know. It depends how you define skirmish game. I guess a small skirmish game, 3 to 10 figures generally a side. It tops out at 10. Generally, warbands are 6 or 7 figures, I'd have said. And obviously, you've got each one has a set of characteristics on the warband roster, so each one's treated individually. That's why we kept it at a maximum of 10, because you've got to keep track of who's been wounded and what skills they've got, what equipment they've got, things like that.
Sure.
So we didn't want to overload it with too many figures. It's a pretty straightforward system. All the characteristics are based on a particular polyhedral dice. So you might have movement of D6, strike of D8, block of D4. So you're a different dice assigned to each characteristic, depending on what race the person, it could be a mouse or a badger or hedgehog, whatever. Mm-hmm. And the pretty much everything in the game is based around one player rolling one of their dice and the other player rolling one of their dice and comparing the results. And if one of them wins, then they've succeeded, and any damage or effects or whatever are the difference between the two rolls. That's kind of fundamentally where it's at. So if one player is attacking someone with a sword, say, and they roll their strike of D8, the other player will roll their block of, say, D6, and if the D8 comes out higher than the D6, you've caused some damage. That's the kind of core concept of it. And that works for fighting, shooting, magic spells, pretty much searching for things, doing ambushes, stuff like that. So you're always using the same kind of key mechanic.
That's one thing about the rules as you originally wrote them. That use of polyhedral dice, there was something elegant in the way that was written, and especially how, again, that matches to the particular size of the creature. Or the skill of the creature. So when you turn around and say, I rewrote it as a 2d6 system, and I can imagine you writing it as a 2d6 system, and then people suddenly having to apply modifiers and various other bits and pieces.
That's it, yeah.
I can see why people went, it's not the same, because, as I say, there is. I'm a big fan of polyhedral dice and opposed dice rolls. I just think there's something about it which is just seriously cool.
Yeah, I must admit I enjoy it. I am still using the 2d6 system, strangely enough, but only for a game we've been messing around with, which is just humans. It's basically just everyone in it's a human, so everyone's rolling 2d6, and then it is just a series of modifiers, small modifiers if you're better or worse, but an average person just rolls 2d6, and it works well for a setting where everyone's basically the same. Yeah. But with all the different animals, it just didn't differentiate well enough. I think the polyhedral dice let us get away with the perfect roll rule as well, which it's quite kind of fundamental to the game. A simple little rule: if you ever roll the highest number on your dice, then you add 7. So if you roll a 12 on a d12, then you add 7 to the result. If you roll 4 on a d4, you add 7 to the result. And the reason I liked the rule is because it favours the weaker creatures, basically. Because it's pure luck, whether you roll high or not. But smaller creatures with worse stats are more likely to roll their maximum possible roll. So you've got a d4, you've got a 1 in 4 chance of getting lucky. Whereas if you're a big, skillful creature with a d12, you've only got a 1 in 12 chance. So the smaller guys can benefit from luck a lot more than the big guys, but the big guys will be consistently better.
But it does give you a rather big sort of jump in your result, because your results essentially now go 1, 2, 3, 11.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And very often it can make the difference as to whether a really weak character can actually affect a big, powerful character. We tended to avoid D4s. There's not many D4s in the game unless you're badly injured or whatever. For the simple reason that rolling a 4 on a d4 happens quite a lot. So it was affecting the game quite a lot. So most people have got a basic d6. So it's a 1 in 6 chance that you're going to do something more effective. It just allows occasionally you can send a mouse in against a badger or a fox and do enough damage to cause them serious problems. So it becomes worth doing. You can be at the end of the game having suffered very badly and on your last guy, and still be with a chance of doing something heroic at the end. So it works pretty well, I think. I think it fits with the theme of the woodland creatures and all the various books, Redwall books and Wind in the Willows and things like that, where you've got heroic characters performing actions that perhaps are unlikely, but it fits the narrative.
Yeah, because the heroes, by and large, always tend to be the little guys, don't they?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's always a mouse that takes out a massive wildcat or whatever, and there's got to be a mechanic in the game to allow that to happen. It's not going to happen that often, but it can happen. To a similar end, we've got things called fate points in the rules, which we played around with all kinds of variations of how a fate point should work during playtesting. In the end, one of the playtesters suggested, what we went with in the end was just whenever you spend a fate point, you get to roll an extra dice of whatever type you're using and pick which one you want. So basically it meant that if you got something vitally important happening, you could spend 2 or 3 fate points, roll the extra dice, and just really increase your chance of getting that perfect roll. And again, that kind of thing, if you time it well, you can pull something off that wouldn't otherwise happen.
I'm so looking forward to seeing this new version of the rules,
Yeah, no, it's I'm enjoying it. I mean, one of the problems I've got talking about it is trying to remember what went in and what didn't. I'm forever saying things, and then somebody will say, "That's not in the rules," and I do a quick check, and no, that was the 4th version in, and then we cut it. And So when we're playing it now, I'm constantly saying things and then thinking, "Oh no, that got removed." And
so are you going to be in a situation then where if you've got this extra content, are you going to be in a position where either it sells really well and you convince Osprey that a supplement is required, or is it going to be a case of this stuff will be made of in the same way as other people have done, where this stuff will be made available on your as downloadable material on the website? Yeah,
I think it's pretty much that's kind of up to Osprey. If it sells well and they want to do more with it, they can. But in which case, great, I'll get to do it anyway. And if it doesn't and they don't want to do it, then I can do it myself, either as small books or as PDFs. So either way, I'll get to put the extra content out. Yeah. It literally, from Osprey's perspective, I imagine it depends on sales. Cool. Obviously, a print run for one of these hardback books is generally around 4,000 copies anyway, so it's quite an investment on their part. So,
yeah, I'd say I was about to ask it. Any idea on the size of the print run?
Yeah, I think they typically, from what they do, it's 4,000 copies for a hardback. Obviously, Frostgrave, I think, is now on its 5th print run or something. So they must have shifted quite a few of those. But and that's an unusually successful one of the games, to be honest.
So, as you say, considering it's a niche within a niche, are you quite surprised that you've ended up with a game, with a game that's getting that big that big of a print run?
To be honest, I actually think it's the niche within a niche that's allowed it, simply because there's no end of standard fantasy skirmish war games to choose from. And if you look at things like Osprey have just released Gaslands, as you were saying, now there's not a huge amount of choice for that. Because there's not loads and loads of car fighting games out there. So when Gaslands was an idea for them, it was something that was well worth publishing. Now, if you went to them and said, "Oh, can I do a road racing game?" Well, they've already got one. So similarly with Burrows and Badges, I think it was something that there wasn't already on the market, so it's worth publishing. I think if it had been just another generic fantasy skirmish game, it wouldn't have made the cut.
Yeah, it's just, so it is because, and let's face it, the range of figures that you produce to go alongside this are absolutely gorgeous. Is the word that immediately springs to mind. I mean, yeah, they are.
That's 2 words, Neil.
Yeah, I couldn't get it into one. Sorry.
Scrumptious.
Sorry,
Fandabidozy.
I was about to say Fandabidozy.
You have been exposed to too much lard, Mr. Hobbs.
I have,
indeed.
and I love it.
Indeed. You've teased us with snippets of the artwork that's been released as part of the book. It just seems that the whole idea has just it really has caught the imagination.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed getting the art done. That was Gary Chalk, which that was quite an experience because he was ideal for it because he'd illustrated various Redwall books in years past, so he knew his stuff on Anthro characters anyway. But I used to love the old Lone Wolf books and Bloodbath at Orcs Drift for 2nd edition Warhammer and what have you. Loved all the art from that. So it was sort of getting involved with him now. Having been a fan as a kid, basically, was it's great.
Yeah, it was almost one of these things of getting to work with one of your childhood heroes.
Basically, yeah, that was it. So yeah, it's again, having someone that's one of the benefits of having someone else publish your book is that you get someone else foots the bill for the art. I wouldn't have been able to pay to have it professionally illustrated. So, that is a great advantage to getting put out through Osprey. Than the fact that I'm getting paid for it. So,
Yes.
So when it comes to the artwork that Gary's done, did he take the figures that you produce and did designs from them, or has he created his own designs?
Yeah, no, we had I had to do like an artist's brief explaining how the legs were, that they're all kind of digitigrade stance to the plantigrade, so they're still on their toes, not their flat feet. Things like toads don't wear clothes in. A big long list of things based on the miniatures, which I then passed on to Osprey. They passed on to Gary. And then I think he pretty much kind of ignored that and did his own thing, which is, but it came out all right, so that's fine. And then he's just kind of made up characters. I mean, they're not based on the miniatures, although since then I have kind of sculpted a miniature or two based on the art. So
that was my next question: is are you now going to produce miniatures based on Gary's art? Because that seems to be the logical.
Yeah, I mean, in some you can. I always find it difficult to do miniatures. I'm not good at working from concept art, simply because a lot of what I do is when you're just sculpting, if you're literally just making a sculpture, you can get away with anything. You can put whatever bits you want in any direction, in any angle. You can have long, thin bits sticking out. You can, you just get away with anything. When you're sculpting for production, and I've kind of set myself the target of all the miniatures for this have to be a single piece, you're kind of limited in your options. So there's certain pictures that you look at and think, yes, it would look lovely as a miniature, but there's no way I can design and get that to mold in one piece. So while I've based some miniatures on the illustrations, there's bits I've had to change and chop away, and just to try and make them one piece casts, really.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because again, it's accessibility with miniatures games. I mean, one of the things I hate is drilling and pinning metal miniatures. If we were doing plastics, multi-part wouldn't be a problem because they're nice and easy to deal with. But until I'm a millionaire, I don't think we'll be doing plastics. So metal it is, and I'll try and go for a single piece wherever possible.
As I say, actually, whilst that's an understandable decision, and actually, there are an awful lot of hobbyists out there that would applaud you for it because, and interestingly, when you look how, especially across the hobby now, how where you get games that cross the divide, because the appeal goes across from dedicated wargamers, right, and the more kind of hardcore sci-fi fantasy historicals. When the appeal goes across to, shall we say, a more casual gamer. The universal issue seems to be miniature assembly. So with the fact that you haven't done that, and let's face it, from a commercial point of view, and again, thinking here of something like UK Games Expo, for example, here we have an ideal game that crosses, or I would imagine would appeal right across a huge spectrum because of what it is. Yeah, because it is anthropomorphic woodland animals. It's got a massive breadth of appeal that, as you say, even a hardcore fantasy game wouldn't have.
Yeah. Can't argue with that. I mean, certainly at things like the Expo, we do get a lot of non-miniature gamers coming across to see what it's all about, and I do think they'd be put off by multi-part miniatures. I'm surprised they're not put off by the fact that you've got to paint them, because that seems a big jump from board games and things like that.
Yeah.
But generally, they seem happy enough with the idea of some paint and a paintbrush, more so than they would be with a pin vise, a drill, super glue, files, all the jeweler's saw, all the other bits that you tend to use when you're mucking around with metal miniatures. So again, the one piece thing was really for that kind of market to try and appeal to people, so they could just look at a miniature and see what the whole thing was meant to be. But it has other benefits too. It's much easier for us here because we don't have to keep separate stock bins for arms and legs and all the rest of it. It's just a single miniature. So picking and packing's a lot easier. And to be honest, I enjoy the challenge of sculpting something in one piece and still having it look good. Because it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but you have to spend a lot of time filling gaps with pouches and things to make things castable.
Knowing how much I hate trying to get hands and swords on Saxons, I thank you.
Yeah,
super glue, just however much super glue claims to do it never does.
No,
even with accelerant.
Yeah, no, it's not. It ends up being brittle as well, doesn't it? And no,
it's not good.
Yeah, no, you got to pin it, and then you haven't really got enough metal in the wrist to drill and plug, and no, been there often enough.
So you wouldn't actually consider then, it's like, for example, doing almost like a master's set of miniatures which were actually based, so all the characters that are depicted in the book, you'd have almost, for want of a better phrase, a box set of miniatures that depicted all the characters as they appeared in the book. So that is not something you consider at all.
Probably not. Maybe, I don't know, because there's odd ones in there where I think that might work, and there's other ones which I look at and think, nah, I don't really fancy that one. The sculpting is very much you don't have to like what you're doing necessarily, but I'd be doing something where I got paid a bit better if I was happy to take bad work. So I tend to have to sculpt things that I want to sculpt. So
that's fair enough.
At the minute, I don't want to sculpt them all. If they grow on me and I do want to sculpt them all, then it'll happen. But the other problem is limited time. There's still things, there's types of animal in the range that we've only got one of or two of, and there's rules in there for having single species warbands. So if you just want all mice or all weasels or whatever, you can, but there isn't the miniatures to do it. So I've kind of got a lot of sort of basic sculpting to catch up on first as well.
This is where Neil mentioned weasels again.
Yeah. I thought I'd say the W word and just get it out there.
Yes, I did pick up on the fact that you did say yes, single characters, weasels. Yes. I now see you have taken that on board. However, at the same time, you can see, well, you do actually have 5. I think it's 5 weasels in the range.
It might be. Yeah.
And
if you count ferrets, I guess they're close enough.
Yeah, but you see, you don't have any stoats or anything like that. I mean,
it's the stoat thing's
no,
weird.
They'd be totally different.
Yeah, because it's like I'm kind of following the wind and the willows thing there. In our stoats and weasels are basically one one set of characteristics. They are in real life. Obviously, a stoat is way bigger than a weasel. But whenever you read Wind in the Willows or watch the TV shows or whatever, the stoats and the weasels are interchangeable. So I kind of went with that with this.
Right.
Stoats and weasels are basically interchangeable. There is a really nice picture of a weasel in the rule book. He's got a blunderbuss, so a bit controversial because some people like the addition of black powder and some people don't. That was a bit of an issue during playtesting, but he's one I definitely look forward to sculpting.
Yeah. So, okay. So we're going on to differences in rules. So black powder weapons.
Yeah, in a limited way. They're expensive and not particularly reliable. So they're not something that are going to be, it's not bringing it forward 200 years. Not that, there's actually any accurate history involved in this, but it's something that's been added in a limited way. Some people really wanted it, and so I thought, right, we'll just add them in. We'll give them a rule to say that potentially they blow up a lot. So
because let's face it, you do have a rather nice Fox Highwayman, don't you?
Yes, yeah, he was basically the test for that. When some people were wanting black powder in, and some people weren't. So I said, right, I'll sculpt a miniature, and if enough people like it, it goes in. And they did. So far, the only one in the range that's wearing boots as well. Because that was another controversial decision. It's amazing how worked up people get about these things, but that was a big deal, that one.
Really?
So, yeah. Yes, the footwear, that was really split people, that did. So I've only risked it on one so far. I'm going to squeeze a few more in here and there, but yeah, it's strange, isn't it? You wouldn't think so, but yeah.
Okay, so how about things like, for example, the Shrew Knight?
Yeah,
was that?
I think, that was. I have no idea why I did that. To be honest, I liked the idea. Basically, I just thought. People were asking about, animals riding other animals, and I thought, given that everything's intelligent in the world, it just seems a bit weird to have some of them kind of subjugated into riding beasts. So I thought the most I'm prepared to do is insects, and pretty much the only creatures in the game small enough to ride them will be shrews or possibly dormice, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And of course I'm kind of restricted to stuff that exists in Britain. And the only beetle big enough is kind of the stag beetle.
Sure.
So basically we ended up with a shrew on a stag beetle. And I'd written a load of background material about, Shrew Knight's errand and what have you, and what they have to go through to get their stag beetle and all the rest of it. And having done that, I thought I had sculpt one. So technically, no rules for it in the game, other than you can use it. There's a couple of suggestions for proxying it with other things. We do have a set of separate rules, but they didn't make it into the book because I didn't sculpt him till after we'd already submitted the manuscript. So,
right, okay.
So that'll have to be a PDF thing. But yeah, it was just a bit of fun. Again, it's the same sort of thing. It's whatever takes your fancy is what you end up sculpting next.
Sure. And obviously, alongside the range of miniatures, Joe's been busy, and from where we chatted to, Joe's been busy sculpting scenery to complement the figures. And obviously, in the latest Kickstarter, you've gone one further by actually putting a two-piece sculpt together, including a stained glass window.
Yeah. It's been a bit of fun. That we're on the production process of that now. We've got a bigger one that she's started work on as well. It's going to be kind of the next piece to go with it. But when we'll actually get around to finishing that, I've no idea. Yeah, it was basically because we did a little stained glass window scene in our salute display last year. Lots of people were sort of saying, where can I buy that? And we were sort of saying, well, you can't. We've just made it, kind of thing. So we thought, well, we'll just try it. If we can find a way to produce them, then we'll do so. So we've done it for a limited run in this Kickstarter, and we'll see just how much trouble it is. And if it's not excessively troublesome, we'll probably keep them in production.
You're telling me that it's going to be a limited edition. So when you produce the the backer kit for this latest Kickstarter, I'd best order one extra just to be on the safe side to make sure that I get one.
Well, there was 75 slots in the Kickstarter for it, and they've all gone. So probably there won't be any more until. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think we'll. In all seriousness, I don't think we'll let people add them on because it'll scupper the delivery time because they're going to take me ages to make. So I think the ones that have gone is going to be all it is for now, at least. Because I've got, I have an unholy dread of fulfilling a Kickstarter late. We've never done it, and you've only got a perfect record until you mess up once. So
that distant sound you hear is Neil's heartbreaking. I hope you realise that.
Well, there might be an opportunity to get one later on. I mean, I don't like to overcommit on these things.
Good man. Don't let him have one, Mike. You be strong.
Yep, I will.
Stiff off a lip, Neil.
Yep. I know it means that this interview will never go out. He's bound to lose it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, hate listening to myself anyway.
I mean, the lack of weasels was a body blow, but I mean this.
Yeah, it's starting to feel personal, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. I mean, where's the plastic spoon of weasels that you promised Neil 2 years ago?
Yeah. Do you know, we've had quite a few people asking about plastics, and it's I mean, for a game where everyone was the same race, fair enough, you might be able to stretch to it, but there's sort of 25 races what you need. So many plastic sets, it just doesn't even bear thinking about.
Wait till you do Burrows and Badges, the large battle game. That'll be fine then.
We've had one or two requests for that kind of thing, but in all seriousness, I don't see the market for mass battles the same these days. Obviously, in some ways, it's a shame because it's what a lot of us started out doing. It's not what I'm seeing people buying and painting and playing, really.
6mm, mate. Do a 6mm version, you'll be fine.
I did start sculpting some 10mm.
Really?
Just for fun, because I quite fancied 10mm. Because there's kind of a period of sort of serious warfare in the kind of the background history of the game, and I thought, you could set a 10mm game in that, and and it gives you more options for bigger creatures as well. If you want to, maybe they used to be wolves and bears and things, and then you've got in 10mm you can get away with that.
Yeah.
So it's something else. Again, it's so many things. You've so many project ideas and little bits you want to try out, and there's only so many hours in the day. So it might happen one day. You never know.
There you go, Neil. You can have all of the weasels you want then. They'll just be nice and small.
That's true. Yeah.
Got brigades of them, me.
Burrows and Badges being released. Salute.
Yes, on the 14th. I mean, we should hopefully get them a day or two before Salute. I've got them on pre-order, so I'm told we will get them before Salute. On the day, we'll have a free miniature, done a little mouse burglar character that we'll give out free with the book on the day. We're going to give some to Osprey as well, so they can do the same. We've got
is this the sequel to the? Is this the sequel to the miniature you were talking about when we saw each other at Robin?
Could be, yeah. Actually, did I have him with me? I don't know if I had him with me or not then. But anyway, yes, you
didn't have me, and I must admit it was Joe who told me about him. So on the front of is it book 1.5? You've got a mouse dragging.
Yes,
a sack.
We've already got a miniature of him.
Yes.
This is him in a different position. So this is him now walking with a sack on his back. He'll be free with it. I've done a scenario as well, so you can game with him. It just is a kind of a bounty hunt, basically. Both players, he's stuck in the middle of the field, and both players are trying to bring in the bounty on him. I've had those printed up, so there'll be a free copy of that with it as well.
And is that only going to be available at Salute?
Well, technically, it's we've done it as a Salute offer, but obviously it won't be because I've got 1,000 of these scenarios printed. So you had to buy them in bulk. So I imagine that'll probably go out with every copy of the game forever. But you know.
Cool.
But so yeah, I mean, you know, the stuff will always be available thereafter. It's just that you feel like doing something special on the day. So
well, quite. No, it's just that it's just a shock horror. I might not actually be at Salute. I was
really?
thinking,
Damn,
can I still get hold of this?
yeah. Always sort something out one way or another. No, I mean, you know what Salute's like anyway. Even if you're there, you know, you're not going to get more than 2 minutes at every stand, are you? So
this is it. Cool. Right. Okay. So launched at Salute. Any idea on cover price?
I have one in front of me, so I'll have a look. It is $19.99 in the UK, $30 in the US, and $40 in Canada. Why they get straight round figures and we have to have a $19.99, I'm not sure, but that means I'll have to take a load of pennies with me, won't I? Oh well. Change to the Normally we only take like pounds and £5 notes and things, so I'll have to have a bag full of pennies. So yeah, $19.99. That's the cover price. I've got a vague feeling Osprey have got it on pre-order at $18.99, I think, or at least they certainly did, which struck me as a bit odd at the time. It was in the sale. I got a notification of various things that were in sale, and that was one of them. So,
okay.
Which was, I didn't even realise it was up for pre-order yet, so that was quite nice. Go on there and have a look at the pictures and everything. But yeah, Salute's the release. After that, there's a tournament day. A fella called Carl King's organised in Rushden, I think it is, in Northamptonshire, on June the 30th. So that'll be kind of the first organised play thing. That'll be interesting. No idea how that's going to go. Hopefully I'll be fully refamiliarised with the new rules by then, and I'll know what I'm doing. But so that should be good.
Cool. Are places still open for that?
I believe they've still got a few places, yeah. Yeah, Ooh. It's mostly gone, but there are still some places. It's if anyone's interested, the Burrows and Badgers Facebook group is the best place to go for that. That's the easiest place to get hold of anyone to do with that. But again, that'll be using the new rules, which most of them haven't seen yet. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Because obviously we've got various changes since the previous edition. We've had things with the scenarios. We've added in random objectives, so even if you're fighting a straightforward open battle scenario now, you have to make a couple of rolls on the random objectives chart just to try and break it up. So it's not, you don't want to be playing the same scenario all the time. It's nice if you get you're just fighting an open battle, but maybe you've also got to deliver a message, or you've got to capture a particular objective, or you've got a bounty on the head of one of the other guy's warbands, and you've specifically got to get him, take him out and drag him off the board or whatever. So we've added those kind of things in just to try and stop it being. I mean, there's 8 or 9 scenarios anyway, but you don't want it to be the same all the time.
Sure.
So we've got sort of 18 random objectives to add in as well. Trying to think what else has changed. We've campaign-wise, you get dens now. So you've got kind of a place for your warband to live, and between games, you can either send your guys off wandering to, see what they can find, or you can have them labour on your den to add more sort of buildings and what have you to your den. And that just adds a little bit of element between the games as well. What else has changed? There's more skills to pick from, more spells. We've got a couple of extra sets of spells in there as well. Any warband can take any type of animal. One of the problems we had with the original was you had to you could own each warband type, say you were royalists or free beasts or wild beasts or rogues. You had like a limited list of animals to choose from, yes. And nobody liked that. All the playtesters hated it. They all wanted to be able to just pick whatever animals they wanted. So we've scrapped the warband types. Now you just have a warband, and you can pick whatever animals you like. And then after that, you get an allegiance, which is the same basic idea as the old warband types. So you could be a royalist, allegiance, or whatever. But instead of limiting your types, that just gives you a set of specific advantages to your type of allegiance. So the royalists are kind of well trained. They've got access to weapons and armor. They'd be better at fighting. Your rogues are better at hiding and sneaking. They're also luckier, things like that. So that was, again, a fairly small change, but it was one that all the playtesters really wanted, which was, so, you bow to your playtesters at the end of the day. Not always. Sometimes they're wrong. But, it was very useful. We found having the Facebook playtest group, massive amounts of feedback from that. If anyone was writing a game, I'd seriously recommend that. Just setting a group up and letting people give you their ideas and feedback. Sometimes it was a nightmare because, there's nothing worse than people telling you how wrong you are and how badly you've written something. but I mean,
yes, always strokes the ego, that one.
Yeah, very often they were right. That's what it comes down to. It was, there were people on there saying, no, this is stupid, this is wrong, and it would be annoying, but you'd look at it, you'd sit down and look at it and give it a couple of days, and you think, yeah, it doesn't work. What's in my head isn't what's come out on paper, basically. So it makes sense to me, but it doesn't make sense to anyone who's reading it. And you've got to rewrite, you've got to cut, but it leads to a better game at the end of the day. So it's worth the pain. I'd recommend it to anyone.
Cool. Okay, so that's Burrows and Badgers. Once this release is out, and obviously you've then fulfilled the next Kickstarter, what's next on the workbench? What where are we going from here?
Yeah, it's difficult because while it's felt for us like Burrows and Badgers was done, because it's we had to get the manuscript finished, get it sent off. And, as far as we were concerned, job was done. I can honestly see us having to do a load more miniatures for it fairly quickly, because people have been buying it and they'll want more miniatures. So almost certainly I'll have to sculpt a few more of those next. Other than that, we started a sci-fi skirmish range about a year and a half ago. I've had the miniatures on display about a year ago that we'd already had cast. And various people were sort of, oh, they're nice. When are they coming out? And I'm sort of, yeah, in a month or two. And it's been a year and a half now, so they might come out possibly if we get a chance to do it. Again, we've got a skirmish game to go with them, which has all been play tested and done. Hopefully, I'll be able to get that out. That's a bit of an odd one in that it's not a book; it's just a deck of cards. The rules for the game are just on the first 7 cards, and that's it. So there's no setting or anything. It's just basically you have 7 miniatures, and both players have 7 miniatures, and you just got a set of stat cards, a very simple rule set, and the rest of it's all equipment cards that you just deal out to your guys. Which it's a fun little game, and hopefully it'll come out sometime in the next few months, as I've been saying for the last year and a half.
Excellent. Just finding space in the calendar.
Yeah, that's it. It is definitely a drawback when there's only me and Joe. It's just the two of us, so you're sort of. I mean, I've not sculpted anything in about 2.5 months, which is odd. But technically, I'm a sculptor, but you've got to wear all the hats when you're self-employed. So there's always something else needs doing. We've been dabbling with role-playing games as well.
Yes, you said that. Yes, you mentioned that earlier. So what's all about that? What's all that about then?
Yeah, we've got kind of 3 we're working on. I've got initially, I was wanting to do something kind of D&D, early D&D based. I like my old D&D basic. And I was going to do some dungeon crawly, something old school dungeon crawly, which we've started and we've discarded several versions because there's already so many good ones out there that trying to do something that's similar enough but different enough to be worth doing is proving very difficult. But mostly what I've been working on is a totally abstract set where very rules light. One of the things I've been enjoying lately with role-playing games is not using any miniatures or terrain or maps or anything like that. All theatre of the mind stuff. Probably a terrible thing to say, given that we're technically a miniatures company. But when I'm role-playing, I generally prefer not to use any miniatures or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and one of the problems, I enjoy D&D 5th edition. It's worked out really well. There's some great books for it. The problem I've got with it, like all of the D&D sets that I've ever played, is that they're effectively just a combat system with a bit of role playing tacked on. The rules focus on when you're hitting something with pointy stick or casting a spell at something, and kind of the social interaction and all the rest of it is kind of just left open-ended. And to me, it feels like there's room for rule sets that kind of abstract everything a bit more, really. If you're going to go rules light on social interaction and things like that, you might as well do the same on combat. So the system we've been working on, just the player describes what they want to do, the GM assigns a difficulty to it, and the player rolls their appropriate dice, and they either succeed or fail, or get somewhere in between. So if the difficulty is 10 and you roll a 7, you haven't managed it, but you're not far off. So the GM describes the results, and then the player makes their next action from there. And it's working really well for us, just as a straightforward storytelling type of role-playing experience. And that's kind of ready to go, but not really sure what to do with it. So I'm in an R in at the minute.
Why don't you do something with the Kingdom of Northumbria?
We've had a lot of requests with it. It's one of those things where it feels like potentially one of those ones where you should use a proprietary rule set and just do a background book kind of to suit, like do it for Fate Core, or do it for 5e or whatever, because they've all got like open game licenses and what have you, so you can publish material for them. But I don't know. Is it worth writing a complete system, or is there? I'd like to write more background. I enjoy writing the background for it, and there's not a huge amount of background in the skirmish game rulebook. Just basically because Osprey aren't keen on having lots of background in the book. They like to leave it open for people to interpret the way they see fit. But I do like writing the background, so I've been kind of filling in stuff on my own, sort of, just not doing anything with it yet. But I've got various bits kind of written, so there's potential for a role-playing game there.
Yeah, I mean that might be a nice way of doing it. As you say, write the background, write up some characters, base it on D&D 5th, and release that as a print on demand, or get it printed.
Yeah, definitely got potential. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed to me like you've done all this effort into creating this world. You've got a great game to go with it. RPGs, it just seems to fit.
Yeah, I'll get you. We seem to be doing more and more kind of RPG stuff lately as well. So when we get time, that is, how it is. Yeah. I mean, there's potential there. The other thing we're doing is a totally random RPG where you're all goblins and there's no games master at all. It's quite kind of it's anarchy really when you're playing it, but it seems to be working all right. It's no rule book. It's based around a deck of cards where you've got character cards, you've got event cards. Basically, every couple of minutes, a new event happens, and everyone just has to deal with that.
Well, what you could do, Mike, is change goblins to weasels.
yeah. Very similar.
Neil is never going to hear the last of this, is he?
No, I'm not. No. Before Mike mentioned it, I would have thought, having a Burrows and Badgers RPG seems to be a logical progression. Let's face it, something like Redwall was a hugely popular series. I mean, I know it's I know it's been a few years since it was published, sort of thing, but it's a hugely popular series, and you can see how I can certainly see how people would like to role play in a similar world.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess you've already got things like Mouse Guard and that cover a similar kind of niche.
Oh yeah,
there's good old Bunnies and Burrows from back in 1976.
Yeah, about to be re-released on Kickstarter, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's also apparently managed to get itself a GURPS Bunnies and Burrows.
Right. Okay, but yeah, I think it's either this month or next month. They're doing a reprint.
Oh, fabulous!
So,
okay.
Yeah. So
that's nostalgia and a half.
Yeah. I imagine we're going to get massive confusion between the two since the names are so similar, with Burrows and Badgers and Bunnies and Burrows. But that's life. No different to all the confusion we've had lately with the Oathmark And the Oathmark, a number of people have been saying, so are you doing these Oathmark rules then? And I'm like, no, we're Oathsworn. So we're not, you know. And they're like, all right, okay. Oh, right, thanks.
Well,
there's only so many names to go around in this and that.
This is didn't Nick actually ask? So is it okay if we do this?
Osprey did actually say about a year and a half back that they were thinking. I think it was Oathstone at the time. They were thinking of Oathstone, and then they said, "Oh no, it's all right. We've changed our mind. We're not doing anything with Oath in it." So we were like, fair enough. And then they obviously did. But I can't see it being that big a deal. I mean, at the end of the day, it probably means we'll get more hits on the website that we wouldn't have got otherwise. So,
yep, it's definitely win-win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially as that game won't be out for probably a year, they reckon.
Yeah. I've already got some. I've got some of the dwarves because you have to, don't you?
Mm.
But
the goblins are lovely.
I've not got any of them.
Are there any weasels?
No, dwarves.
Yeah.
Therein lies the question. Especially considering your company emblem.
Oh no, I'd like. Yeah, well, technically it's Odin because he's
only got one eye. But okay. Yeah.
But yeah. No, they're still my first love, basically, in fantasy, and yes, and I do enjoy sculpting them.
Will we ever see a return to the dwarf range? I mean, I know somebody who's who's currently working on a set of fantasy rules that of course another dwarf army will just fit in nicely along what it's got already.
Yeah, true enough. Yes. I was listening to the water tanker episode earlier on, and the fantasy got mentioned, didn't it? So I'd like to do more dwarves. I would. It was Warhammer getting knocked on the head that kind of killed it for me because that's what I collected all my dwarves for. Basically, I had a big Warhammer army of dwarves, and I was gradually adding my own miniatures in. And then kind of once everyone locally stopped playing it, because I've never really understood why, but apparently as soon as the manufacturer stopped selling a game, everyone else has stopped playing it, which they did for some reason. But so with that, I wasn't sculpting them for my own army, so I didn't really feel like doing any more. I do kind of sculpt the odd one. I've got a few stashed away. I've just not done anything with them yet. I'm not entirely... The old Warhammer style ones don't really fit with the Sensible Shoes range because they're kind of D&D role-playing dwarves are a bit taller and thinner. So I don't know. I'd like to do them. I just don't know what I'd be releasing them for. Do you know what I mean? They're not Burrows and Badgers. They're not Sensible Shoes. They'd just be some dwarves.
Mm.
So I don't know. If I can think of an excuse to do them, I will. But, I do miss doing dwarves, I must admit. One day.
Well, one day, maybe. Once Burrows and Badgers has made your fortune, and you can go back to sculpting vanity projects.
Yeah, like Burrows and Badgers isn't a vanity project, but I think most people would consider sitting around sculpting Anthro miniatures all day pretty much a vanity project, to be honest. You do get interesting conversations at the post office when you're posting things, and they always ask you, what's in the parcel? And it's sort of, you have to explain. Good fun.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. The rest of the customers do give you some funny looks, but I mean they're used to it in our post office now because every time we go down with a Kickstarter, we cause a massive tailback of people, so they all get to listen in anyway while glaring at my back.
Yeah,
I was talking to Ruben from PE2 Collectibles about that the other day. He was saying that with all the people who ship stuff out every day at these local post offices, they've actually have this informal agreement as to who ships stuff out when during the day.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Nobody turns up in anybody else's time slot.
Yeah. No, we've done that. When we're shipping a Kickstarter, they tell us at what point, it's all, you come in at 2:30 on the afternoon because, everyone's back from lunch then and we've got cover until 4 and, so we have to fit in with them.
Yes.
Yes,
I'd like to post 700 parcels, please. Most of them international.
Yeah. Yeah, it does take time. Yeah. They keep saying, you should just do the drop and go thing, but I like to know everything's gone.
Not quite. Yeah. Michael, it's been great to catch up again. Thank you so much for coming back and chatting to us.
Thanks very much. Been great to be on.
It's been good. We wish you all the very best with the new edition of Burrows and Badgers. And we hope it goes well. We look forward to seeing what happens with it over the coming months. I've got 3 warbands at the moment, and I'm thinking I do need to slot them into my painting schedule because they are because they are folks. If you're listening and you haven't seen the Burrows and Badgers range, get on over to Oathsworn's site. They are a fantastic range of miniatures. Not only are they well sculpted, every one is just so full of character. It's brilliant. Well, Michael, it is always a pleasure to chat. Thank you so much for coming on the show. As I say, all the very best. Love to Joe, and hopefully we'll catch up. We'll catch up with both of you soon.
Thanks very much.
We hope that you're enjoying this episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you are, would you like to support us? There's a couple of ways of doing so. You can become a patron of the show by supporting us on our Patreon page. There you can give regularly every time we produce a show. Alternatively, you may want to give a one-off donation, and you can do that by using PayPal. For more details on both these options, please click on the Donate tab on our website www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk.
Did I mention I just bought the rules?
What rules?
I'm now having to think which way round it is before I say it. I stopped. I was about to say Burrows and Badgers, and it was going Burrows and Badgers, Burrows and Badgers, and it just was about to come off the tongue. It was like, hang on a second, is that right?
Funny enough, so have I. I've ordered it. Mine's coming tomorrow.
Damn you, Hobbs, for putting that seed of doubt in me at the top of the show.
You're
Well,
welcome.
Hobbsy, it was me.
Whoever it was. Damn you, sir. Anyway, yes, so, I hope mine's coming tomorrow. Onward, indeed. So, yes, Burrows and Badgers. I am so looking forward to painting my warbands. Ordered me, I actually got the, because we had the pledge manager for that start, I think it was back end of last week. So I've got my, Toad of Toad Hall, warband sorted for that. Just need a few more weasels. Moving swiftly on. Okay, so as promised, before we wrap the show up, perhaps a few things that we may have spotted and caught our eye, and we kind of think, oh, that looks really cool. I know Mr. Whittaker has some. Before I find out what Mike's are, I will chip in with one that I spotted this morning, and kind of went, oh, that is a must. Right. Bear's Head Miniatures.
Oh, yes.
Bear's Head Miniatures. Mr. Philip Hines.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, Phil. Yes, who is one of the sculptors that a friend of the show, Annie Norman, uses a lot for several of her ranges. He recently did a Kickstarter for some miniatures, and he's been showing off on social media some of the greens, and he tweeted one over the last couple of days, which as soon as I saw it, I kind of went, that is a must. Luckily, late pledges are opening up on his website, so I can get a hold of one. Right, okay. So it's a miniature, but it's a miniature with a difference, because it's a miniature based on on Highland cattle. So it's a Highland cattle miniature. So obviously, first off, it's a ginger miniature, okay? And he's wearing a kilt and carrying a bloody great big claymore. And it's absolutely stunning.
It is a thing of beauty.
It is gorgeous, isn't it? Absolutely
Sounds
gorgeous.
fun.
Oh, it is a super. It's on the Bear's Head Miniatures page. I retweeted the picture on our feed, but have a look at it. It is a thing of beauty, and yes, what's one of those? I must have one of those models. That is just awesome. Okay, that's the first of mine. I've got another one, but I have a suspicion that Mr. Whittaker may be about to talk about it.
I don't know. A small but entertaining little thing I spotted. The nice folks from Phalanx Consortium, who folks may remember were doing some of the MDF and hybrid scenery for, oh Lord, my brain's gone blank. Polyversal, thank you.
And it's not MDF, it's extruded foam stuff, isn't it?
That's right, it is, isn't it? Yes. And they've also just released, just because they can, for those of you who are into Star Wars Legion, a set of clear bases, so that your nice terrain maps show through, and you don't have to texture your bases.
Oh yes, yeah, they've actually issued them with the cutouts in, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
Yes.
And not that Legion floats my boat, but if it floats yours, might be worth being aware of.
Sure.
Cool.
Neil,
anything you spotted, Mr. Hobbs?
I've spotted something that's completely not related to tabletop gaming in any way, but does need to be mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I've just noticed on Radio 4.
Oh yes.
For
extra.
For listeners outside of the UK, tough. They're doing an adaptation of Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. And it's on episode 2 now. I think it's of 6 episodes. So go and have a listen to that, because Small Gods was a very, very good novel, and I'll be interested to hear the adaptation of it.
Yes, I must admit, I did spot that on and thought, that is a must listen to. So,
yes.
Excellent. Yes, excellent stuff. Yes. Right. Okay. One of the things that you may or may not have spotted in the news, it was brought to my attention by Rich, actually, from work. Ares Games. Those people who brought us Sails of Glory, and it is Wings of Glory, isn't it?
it is now.
It is now. Yes. Now Wings of Glory and Sails of Glory are going to be producing a new sci-fi ship combat game, which is going to, I think, it's going to see the first light of day at Gen Con this year. They have just
2nd to 5th.
They have just announced a miniatures game for Battlestar Galactica.
Ooh.
And they have the license to both the classic series and the remake.
Ooh. Created by the folks who designed Wings of Glory and Sails of Glory.
Yes.
Which gives you a rough idea of what the play mechanic's going to be like.
Yes. My only question is that, if I remember rightly, there's only like 4 ships. Because you've got the old Cylon Raiders, you've got the new Cylon Raiders, you've got the old Vipers and the new Vipers, you've got that, what do you call it? The thing they use for navigation. And, that little shuttle thing. And I'm thinking, is that about it? I'm thinking, I'm sure, unless there's some sort of expanded canon, which I'm not aware of, there's not a lot of ships in that.
Unless they're going to be doing the sort of small fighter fighting around the big ships. So do it more down the sort of fighter route instead of the big combat, the big fleet actions, of which there wasn't many, as you say.
So, yeah, but interesting that they have actually announced that, yes, we are doing combat game based on Battlestar Galactica. Because, at least with Battlestar Galactica, I mean, some of the flight mechanics might be interesting, considering, especially in the reimagined series, they were using Vipers with some real physics, weren't they? Flipping around on their axis and all that sort of stuff. So it might be interesting to see what they do with it.
Yeah. There is actually one thing I've forgot about.
Yeah.
Sword points by those damn fine chaps at Gripping Beast.
Mm-hmm.
They've released a new supplement called Charlemagne, which is out end of April.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a campaign supplement as well. It should be fun.
Oh, which reminds me, just before we go, I forgot to confess something, sir. And it's all your fault, obviously. Because the other thing I bought was happened to be a copy of Warhammer Quest, the card game.
Hey.
Because somebody said they liked it and really enjoyed it, so I ended up buying a copy. Thanks, Obsy.
Yeah, I did have one more, actually.
Yeah, go on.
Literally just popped up today. For those who haven't noticed, there is now a water tanker video on Beasts of War featuring Rich and Nick.
Oh, right, okay, so there's one on Beasts of War. They also...
And there's one... Yeah.
Yes, they also have done one on their own as well, which is on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Beasts of War apparently is hysterically funny. I look forward to it. I think that might be my watching once we're done with this.
The one on YouTube is really funny as well. It has to be said. On that note, then, are we done, chaps?
Oh,
I think so.
do believe we are.
Cool. Okay, then. So, all that has to be said is, first off, thank you all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you to our resident bard for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Whittaker.
You're welcome.
Most disappointed with your level of output and purchasing this month. Please do better next time. Thank you, as always, to the Welsh Wizard himself, and now officially the Welsh Wizard with his very own blog, The Musings of the Welsh Wizard. It is, of course, Mr. Michael Hobbs. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Meeps. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everybody.
Indeed. Thank you all for listening. Have a great time. Happy gaming, and we will catch up with you in a couple of weeks.
Bye-bye. Roll good dice.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, why not share it with others by leaving us a review on iTunes? And if you have any comments or questions, you can always email the show. The address is info@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. And you can also visit our webpage, where you'll find a complete episode archive, all the View from the Veranda podcasts, rules reviews, and our blog of hobby items and news, which is updated several times a week. This is also where you'll find the links to our presence on social media. And here you can follow us on Twitter or join our Facebook group. And finally, here you can also find details should you wish to support us by making a donation to the podcast. All this on the Meeples and Miniatures website, www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 Unported license. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.